So by taking out your birth certificate and actually examining it, you can see that the Crown copyright at the bottom of there would suggest that that thing now, that title, is theirs. So call them and ask them, is it true? Is that legal fiction that I've been using a copyrighted logo belonging to Crown Corporation? And if it is, why are you asking me to use it if I haven't got a right of use of it? Has a license to use that legal fiction ever been issued to you? Have you got any evidence that that is really your name? And when people start to actually bother to ask these questions, you'll find that there is some very different set of answers, which the elite, let's call them, because people, the 1% know this information because they created it. It only works if the other 99% are kept in the undisclosed terms and conditions so that they can actually credit and fund and support the 1%. So what we've created there is a prime example of a hierarchy system defined by ecclesiastical definitions. And the irony is that they're actually waiting for you to commit the fraud upon your soul by claiming that you're a dead Vatican debt slave. So yes, they're coercing you into it because nobody ever taught you otherwise or explained any of this in any great detail. But the best thing that anybody can do is not take anybody's word for anything that you hear on here or anywhere else. Call them and ask them, why are you asking me to create a contract using something that's not mine? You're asking me to create a passport, for example, so that I can exercise my right of free movement. Why do I need a passport, first of all? Where is the contract that I entered into knowingly that I consented to, assign my consent to you to act on my behalf as the protector of my borders, my imaginary borders that somebody's just drawn a line around and said, right, that's that, and coloured it all in with a political, geographical map, for example. So by you investing your time and thought into actually, who is it that I've been saying that I am? Why is it that we've got a situation which we've got so blatantly obvious today, where we've got a bunch of clowns dictating to the people of our states, let's say, deciding whether you have got the right to feed your family, whether you've got the right to shelter, whether you've got the right to travel freely, and who and how is it that they got to be in that position. How they got to be in that position is because we consented to it. They say you're ruled by consent. Theresa May bashing that drum quite a long time. And when you actually look, okay, if we're ruled by consent, and I don't ever remember anybody asking me, am I okay with this? How is my consent being implied? So, okay, through the voting. Well, let's peel that layer back. Here I am, like the rest of you, you're told to go and vote for your next slave master. And how do you do that? Well, I have to use the legal fiction. So immediately what I just did is that I demonstrated to the Vatican's ecclesiastical system of corporate slavery that I am an incapacitated legal minor. I haven't reached the age of 7 yet, and if I have, I must be dead. So I'm laying a false claim anyway, because that can't be me. It doesn't belong to me, it's Crown copyright. And I'm using it. And I'm going to go and put all of the thing that I don't even know what my consent actually consists of, which is my share of the planet and its resources, which has been used on the stock exchange throughout the world to create and back the money, the fiat currency that we've all been using, which is one rock. So we'll come to that later on about the rock. So this system is actually, what you're saying is this: when you say this is me, that's a claim. You're claiming something that's not yours, so you just committed fraud. So you just credited everything your stocks, your shares, your bonds, your consent, your intellectual property, your potential worth, your potential creation, and your procreation, that includes your children that you might not have even had yet, is you've just said, I don't know what I'm doing with any of that because I'm an incapacitated legal minor and I need a government. I need a trust. I am assigning my consent to the corporation that created the legal fiction that I've just put all of my parousia, it's called in Greek, which is equity. All of my equitable rights are now stuck behind a legal fiction, and I have to buy my rights back now as a privilege. Because the trust isn't a trust, it's a corporation. And you cannot trust a corporation. The trust structure is run for the benefit of the beneficiaries. A corporation is run for the benefit of the shareholders. But what happened is in 1934, they created the Securities and Exchange Commission Acts and the Indenture Acts, which said that a corporation could behave like a trust. They then turned around and said, look, all of this debt that's been created throughout time itself for all of the wars that we've all been through, we are going to use something called the Uniform Commercial Code, which is like a subheading of Securities and Exchange Commission definitions, and it's Uniform Commercial Code. It applies to every single business, company, corporation that is listed inside the Securities and Exchange Commission. Go into the Securities and Exchange Commission and have a look for Her Majesty's Government, HM Treasury, Hellenic Republic, Deutsche Bank, Alpha Bank, Bank of England. All of these things were used as collateral to offset the debt that they said we had because we all had a war. So never mind the massive profits that Halliburton and Rothschilds all made over the centuries and eons of us idiots running around killing each other over belief that we were forced into believing, and then divided us all up into different segments to say, well, if you believe that they're saying that, then you better go gun and shoot them. So that wasn't enough. The fact that they can create the money, that's not enough. So what is it that they're actually harvesting, and what is the benefit of this? So we have to move the scale up now, and it is the frequency that we all create, the fear and hate. So we have actually been creating a system, a reality built on the energy of the frequency of fear and hate. And we've been putting our consent to it unknowingly by agreeing to act as the liability, the title holder in due course. He who holds the title holds the liabilities. Now your trust should be the one holding the title because it created the title. It created the capitalized version of the given name. And so it should have been discharging all of your liabilities. So the reason why we agreed to have a government in the first place was because the government said, look, you guys, you don't really know what you're doing with all of this stuff. You just want to be happy. You know, you go and work in the fields. You're commoners. You don't want to consider, you know, you haven't had the education to even consider banking, business, finance and investments and all of that. And so we'll take care of all of that, where your supply of your water comes from and your health care and your food. And we want to commit commerce upon your shares. It's a private little game like Monopoly. And we're not going to tell you what the rules are, obviously, but never will it cross from the public into the private. So we will use part of your shares of the water, the electricity, the gas, the gold, and we want to just commit a game of commerce. And we agreed to that and allowed them to commit commerce, but it was us that those dividends were supposed to be going back into our trust to discharge the liabilities of us accepting to exist in a commercial reality now. We want to play commerce with stocks and shares, but we will never, we will discharge all of those liabilities that you have through allowing us to play our game, is probably the most simplest way I can explain it. And so we said, yeah, here is my shares. Here is my child. Here is my house. Here is my car. Here is my stock, shares, bonds, dividends, my rights. And I'm giving them all to you because I trust you. So when we talk about trust's not a thing that you can define. It's the feeling that you have when you talk to somebody, when you meet somebody, or the feeling that you don't trust somebody. So they took our trust, that feeling that we've got, and they said, look, you can trust us, we'll do this. And lo and behold, obviously, we can see what the end game is at the end of that, where we are now. Now, it doesn't have to be like that, obviously. Just because it's been that way doesn't mean it always has to be that way. And the amount of people who bothered to take the time and find this out for themselves, it started off with people who were in great financial difficulties coming to us and saying, look, I can't even afford to feed my children because of what capitalism has been allowed to just run havoc through our lives and communities. So, I'm working 2 jobs, can't afford the gas. I want to give 5 hours. Can you discharge my liabilities? And those are the kind of people that we first started doing this with Rebuy Any Debt. Then along, 18 months, 2 years later, we ended up with the next level up. People have got mortgages coming for them next. They're working again, still can't afford to pay their mortgages because of skyrocketing interest rates and high inflation and the drop in the amount of money that they were getting in their slave token packet. So then the next level of people came along, people who bought to let. And, this is where that level, if you're looking at the pyramid now, it were 3 levels up from the bottom of the slavery state, if you like. And by pulling these people out of that slavery and breaking the chains of that belief mechanism that supported and credited this hierarchy mechanism, that massive percentage of people's minds now stopped believing that they were the debtor. They took the time to learn the difference. They took the time to find out how did all of this happen, and they secured their trading accounts that was a representation of them inside the Securities Exchange Commission, and they assigned their consent to Universal Law Community Trust. So over the years, we've been building up these debts with everybody. We've been banging away, and in the first 6 to 8 months, we'd already discharged $80 million worth of debt. We created kindness credits, and Visa tried to steal it from us. Visa had issued kindness credit cards, and I got wind of this. And it lasted from me knowing another 24 hours and they were gone. They'd issued kindness credit cards that said that if you use these cards backed by Visa in your transactions, you could donate 1% of the total transaction to one of their pre-chosen charities, which obviously they've created anyway. It's all back into the Vatican system. So they got a strongly worded letter and they had to retract all of the cards. Now, it's just a matter of putting these, it's all presumption. So when I spoke earlier about the quiet title, a quiet title is normally something that, let's say you've had a right of use of land for 30 years and somebody comes along and says, right, that's mine, I'm using that. You would lay a quiet title. And it is to rebut the presumptions of other claims. Now, it also means that you are rebutting the presumption. You are making a claim, and in this instance, we're talking about the legal fiction. So when you have a Ministerium of NID card, you're saying that if you want me to define myself as anything, I'm energy and matter in movement, and I am the minister of that. So what you've just done there is you have completely dissolved all presumption that can be made about you as a being. You haven't contracted to define yourself as anything, any man-made definition. It's a definition that you've said, that is what I am that what I am that I am, put a comma where you like. Because you are laying the claim. It is what you say you are. And so some people identify as dogs, some people identify as cats, some people, men identify as women, women identify as men, and you identify as Minister of Ven. Now, what happens there at that point when you're asked to identify yourself and you pull out that card is the hierarchy system inside the observer's mind, the party who's trying to recognize that ID, they cannot cognize it. And if something cannot be cognized, it's to do with cognitive, it causes cognitive dissonance. The resonance of the cognitive parts of this hierarchy system cannot initiate, because you have just put a spanner in the works, literally, and said, I'm Minister of Ven. That means I haven't got a contract with you. It means I'm reserving my rights to contract with you. It means I don't have to speak to you, I don't have to say anything else to you, because that can be construed as contract also. You asked me to identify myself. I'm not causing controversy by telling you to go jump off a cliff. I'm not telling you what my name is. So it removes the failure to identify yourself. We need a name and address. Okay, well, that's my name there. And the reason why Minister of Ven came about is because if somebody really, you think about this, that asks you, who are you? Based on what I've just told you there, the answer is you don't know. None of us do. And that's why the system want you to define yourself as something so they can take the jurisdiction of you, because they have taken the liberty to try to define everything in the universe in a book called Pactum Singularis Caelium, which is everything defined right down to a unit of energy, from the Grey's alien 6-level life force to different timekeeping. Now, I don't know about you, but if I know now that if I allow somebody else to define my reality for me, it looks like this. But I know, and I also know that if I stop allowing somebody else to define my reality for me and I start to do it myself, something very different occurs. So everything that I'm going to go through with you has all been tried and tested, and actually put to the test personally. Thank you. And that's why people have come and said, you know, I haven't gone out and shoved this down people's throats or tried to sell it, because you can't buy, first of all, your way out of slavery. If I was needing somebody to pay me for this information, it means I haven't done what it is that I said I could do, which is to discharge all my liabilities. Otherwise, why would I need you to pay me? So when you see these people selling things, such as, you know, debtless, or build yourself a trust, or get out of there free, get out of the slavery system, and it costs you 10 grand, for example. I know that somebody's taken my work and they're doing that. You just simply ask them, why are you needing, if you've got a structure that you're going to sell me that is going to free me from debt slavery, what are you asking? Why are you asking me for slave tokens? It's just illogical. So going back to where we were, over the time, we built up these debts. So these companies, people who'd signed their consent, they get a letter then, let's say, they stop paying their electricity bill, and a letter would come. And so they've already been sent, these companies have already been sent the assignment of consent, which is the red document that's on the website for everybody to see, because this is full disclosure, right? Before we can't sit here and talk about the devil and his undisclosed terms and conditions of fraudulent contracts, and not put everything up there first for you all to see and consider, and you know, and accept if that's what you want and if you can see the benefit. So all of that information is up there. It's under transfer of liability, assignment of consent. The account numbers and the legal fiction go in there. And what it is that it actually says is that my name is under non-disclosure. I'll be prosecuted if I use it, in short. Now, without you actually doing anything, you don't need a piece of paper for that. Nobody needs a piece of paper for any of this. But because we're so used to having the paper and the system, the paper fiction administrative system is sitting there waiting for you to rebut their presumption that they're making about you, there's your piece of paper. I will be prosecuted if I use it. If you use the name, they are waiting for you to commit that fraud so they can prosecute you. You are therefore actually prosecuting yourself. So when we first started doing this, people were ringing me up saying, oh, if I use the name, are you going to prosecute me? No, you're prosecuting yourself. What you're actually doing is you're saying that I know that I've been committing fraud upon my soul, and I'm not prepared to do that anymore. My conscience isn't covered to carry on committing the fraud. So this process can be done by many different ways. You can take the birth certificate back to the police station with failure to perform written through it, and all contracts severed, your thumbprint, and hand it in. We've had people go, I've written a script where you go and you say to the police, come to report an act of fraud. Really? Who's committing fraud? Me? Oh, you're here to report yourself? Yes. Oh, who you've been committing fraud against? I don't know. I think it's me. I think I've been committing fraud against myself, but I might have been committing fraud against you or the Crown Corporation because I've been using this. And it says not to be used for ID. And I've been using it. So I'm giving you that incriminating piece of paper back because I didn't want to throw it in the bin because obviously it's not my property. And because you're an agent of Crown Corporation, being safeguard keeping with you because we can trust the police, can't we? So I'm giving you that back. Write in the logbook there, give me a receipt. Now you've got a piece of paper that says you have no ID. Instead of having a piece of paper that says I have no idea about what's going on. The birth certificate, obviously, the document that says I have no idea about what's going on. I consent to be a Vatican debt slave. And the other piece of paper says, I know that much. I know that me using that legal fiction has caused me to support my own terrorism and credit a system of slavery. And for that, just that one reason alone, I'm not using it. Whatever else or every other situation that comes after that point, I don't know. But you didn't know up until the point where you walked into the police station. And everybody's like, oh, we're scared of the unknown. All your life it's been unknown. Because you've been operating in a system that you only just now are getting to hear about. So the unknown needs not to be scary anymore because you can realise, well, actually, I've been here for 50 years on this planet, and everything that I thought up until now as being known was really unknown. So that step into, I'm giving this bloody piece of paper back, and I didn't know what was going on anyway. I thought I did. And now this stepping into the unknown isn't such a great, massive thing that your ego's got to overcome, because you can satisfy that part of you and say, well, I never knew anything up to this point anyway. But it didn't stop me being alive. In fact, it did stop you being alive. It stopped you being live. And that birth certificate is a spell. I went to the doctor to get an evidence of life form to replace the birth certificate with. So this is what you can use instead to get your passing of the port papers, let's call them. And the evidence of life form was off the government's website. It's a N209 or 206. It's on the Facebook group. And I took it into the doctor. I was acting as the Sheriff of Dorset then under the Common Law Court because I didn't know any better. And I said to the doctor, look, I've realised that there's fraud been associated with that legal fiction that I've been using, and I need to separate myself from it. And so I needed to evidence that I'm alive. And we didn't think he was going to do it at first. And there was a guy with me to video it. And he said, are you feeling all right? And I said, well, actually, it's a good question. I was feeling all right until I realised that this document came off the government's website, and that if I need to evidence that I'm alive, then somebody somewhere must be pretending that I'm not. And he just said, good point, and said, right, how do I evidence you're alive? And at this point, the guy pulled out the camera because we thought he wasn't going to do it. And he said, no, I'm just, honestly, nobody's ever asked me this before. How would I prove that you're alive? This is the doctor. You know, okay, well, maybe I should breathe in a mirror or take my pulse or heart rate, whatever. So that's what he did. And as he stamped that document, now I'm standing there thinking, bloody idiot, as if a piece of paper is going to make any difference. The minute that he stamped that document, all I can tell you is that my crown was completely released. Energy, my life completely changed. I'm outside in the car park laughing and crying at the same time, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to feel, because it is a spell. It really is. And you break the spell. Now, I don't know where your level of understanding or comprehension or projected beliefs or whatever it is about spells, but look at the words that we're using. They've all got a vibration, and we actually create the opposite of what we want because we speak Babylonian. Now, when you hear the Greek people speaking in a language that, okay, it has been indoctrinated and doctored by the Vatican, and symbols removed out of the alphabet, but even the vibration of the word no, in Greek it's ne. The vibration is the same, but ne means yes. So we've been actually saying yes to everything we think we've been saying no to vibrationally. So by getting all of these parts of this picture together in this hologram graphic state, let's call it now, and say, right, okay, if it is true that I create from my beliefs, and I believe that I'm a dead Vatican debt slave, then is it any wonder that it doesn't matter that your voice isn't heard? Is it any wonder that we've got a bunch of clowns representing us in our incapacitated legal minor state, and they look like Boris Johnson and his band of merry banjos? You know, we have created every bit of this, and we've also created coronavirus. We are the virus that brought down Crown Corporation. We are the virus of the mind, of the Crown mind, that withdrew its credit and said, no, I'm securing my little credit file inside that laundry mechanism, and I am not crediting it anymore with my universal source energy. I'm putting that somewhere else. I'm not telling you where. That, because this system loves non-disclosure, that's when you use the non-disclosure. My name is under non-disclosure, right? What do you mean it's under non-disclosure? It was created under undisclosed terms and conditions, if we want to put it in that level. My name is under non-disclosure because I put it there. I sold my name. What's your name? I haven't got one. What do you mean you haven't got one? I sold it. You can't sell it. Why not? It's not yours. Well, if it's not mine, then why are you asking me to pay for it? Take them, the people who have got this have been just holding a mirror up to the system and saying, this is legal by your definition, isn't it? This is legal that people can organize themselves and create a cooperation. And it is legal by your definition that if the party, another corporation, enters into a commercial agreement based on the Schedule A of terms and conditions and tariffs and charges, and it's put on notice that if it does this, uses the legal fiction or coerces a beneficiary or attempts to trade on any of their stocks and shares and bonds, they'll be accepting the terms and conditions, and we haven't got any small print. It's all there in big bold letters. That's what you're getting into if that's what you do. Okay, they continued to do it. They sent another bill. So they sent another bill, that's commencement of contract. Thank you very much for your commercial intercourse with us today. The charges will be applied to your kindness credit account, and it starts at 20 million. You've got 30 days to pay it, and if you don't, we'll add the interest, just like they do. They get a second document then, notice of a failure to perform, and then a failure to perform. Just like they did to you. So we created a debt, which in England now is England, Wales, people in Scotland, a few in Ireland, all came together under the Universal Law Community Trust umbrella and said, right, I want you to counterclaim and act, here's my authority to act, counterclaim them for the trespass upon my shares that I've assigned away from them. And so over the time, we managed to build up this debt of 10 quadrillion slave tokens. But we couldn't demand slave tokens because we would be back in commerce, and we're not. So we have to have our own currency, which is kindness credits. So it was 10 quadrillion slave tokens worth of kindness credits. Our token, like you use a Visa card or pounds or dollars or whatever, is your legally accepted tender. We don't accept that. We use our own currency, which looks like rocks. Now, because the year before, we had 1.3 million people assignment here in Greece, and we were able to do this in a much greater scale quickly. We had 37 quadrillion slave tokens worth of debt to lay against Hellenic Republic. Now, Hellenic Republic and Allada, Hellas, which means rock of light, is the definitions. Hellas was the rock of light that we all lived on, and we were all Hellenists. We were all of the light, children of the rock of light. And when the Romans came along and forced this Christianity onto us and the other stuff and all of that they've created in their nihilistic state, and they believe in nothing, they got us, and so they would use the equity. They stole everything that was Greek and gave it a Roman definition to take the periousia, the equity, and claim it as their own. So by us going back to that, and so before this Roman hiccup of the last 2,000 years of us believing in nothing, that we believed we were nothing, a piece of paper, legal fiction, we've gone to the point where we've taken back what it was that Rome claimed in the first place. So inside the Securities Exchange Commission, Hellenic Republic, which is the Greek version of our government, a corporate government, filed in there, and they've been doing what they've been doing all over the world, taking us apart piece by piece, and I mean P-I-E-C-E, in the name of peace, P-E-A-C-E. And they've done it in this corporate way because we all believe that legal was lawful. Legal isn't lawful because you have to break the law in order for it to initiate. You have to commit a fraud upon your soul and say that you're a legal fiction before that system can come into play, which is actually there to prevent you from doing that one thing, which is committing fraud upon your soul. And that takes us to the Katholiki, which is means all, universal in Greek. So they even took that word and gave it their own definition. And so they're upholding universal law while they do it. And so they can say, well, these are incapacitated legal minors. They don't know what they're doing. They've used legal fiction. They've committed fraud upon their soul. And now in the name of the universe, in the name of universal law, we have to prosecute you for that. So their consciences are covered. Ours aren't. We're left wandering around going, how the bloody hell did we end up in this mess? And this is how it happened. So by fully comprehending how it was they got to be where they are in the first place, using this Uniform Commercial Code. If you read Uniform Commercial Code 9609610, it is what we've been accepting as legal in different definitions as a debt. So you know yourself that if you've borrowed money from the bank, or so you think, that you've gone and bought yourself a house and the debt is secured on the house. If you don't pay the mortgage, the bank have got the legal right to come and take that property from you, even though they committed fraud by not disclosing to you that you were actually the creator of the credit that created the funds that went across to the next party to exchange the two title deeds. But because you peacefully surrendered your property to their legal fiction, then they can come along and take it off you at any time. They can change the terms and conditions. They can up the interest rate because it's the legal fiction that they're actually attacking. But because we keep running along saying that legal fiction's mine, it's me, that's my life, that's my debt, that's my house, you're laying a claim to own something and you own nothing. You have the right of use. And even in their definition, the legal value is not the thing itself, it's the right of use of the thing that has the legal value, not the thing itself. So when you get into that position with all of that charge, so we've charged these companies and corporations and said, look, you can't pay us, even if it's 37 quadrillion, 47 quadrillion with England's on there as well, then you still can't settle this because we don't take slave tokens. What we take is rocks. So you lot valued this rock at this amount of money in slave tokens, and you took it to exchange for a debt. You did a debt equity swap. And so we just did it back. You can't settle this in any other way because you can't pay us, because you can't buy us off, because we don't accept slave tokens, they haven't got any value. So we'll just take the one thing that has built all of that legal fiction system off the back of it, the stocks of the shares, the gold, the water, the mineral wealth, the aluminium, the people's potential, the people's rights. And we'll take all that you actually, private corporation, listed in your claim that was, you itemized it all. You itemized that the debt for the war was offset by the right of use of Greece or Europe or England or Alaska. And so we did the same thing. Now we want them, and we've been waiting for them a long time, to tell us the thing that we did isn't legal. Because the minute that, I mean, they did in the beginning, we had a few debt recovery companies calling us and saying, you can't buy debt. Hang on a minute, I'm looking at your website, and your website says that you have an assignment of consent and that you buy debt. So if you're telling me that you can't do the thing that you do for a job, you better shut your shop and go home. Lawyers ringing up, you can't buy debt, really. You're the lawyer for the bank, and the bank exists only on debt equity swaps, on debt-based currency, and you can't buy debt. You can buy debt, but you just can't pay the debt back because it's in a discharge-only system. And so we were never supposed to be paying again, pay again. We were supposed to be learning how this discharging of the charges system works in legal fiction, and never allowing those two parts, the public and the private, to become one. So we did the same thing then to, so we took Hellenic Republic, we took Alada, so the Periusia, it was the primary trust fund feeding account in the World Stock Exchange, because without it, there's nothing Roman. Without anything Greek, Roma's got nothing. So it was the primary trust fund feeding system, highway, let's say, door portal for all this system to exist. So by pulling that out and securing that, they could still, because capitalized names are still being used, the hypothesis of legal fiction could still continue. And the irony is, because it's a legal fiction against a legal fiction, nothing happened here. That's why you don't get any legal remedy, because there's none to have. You can't get any remedy from something that came from its origins of fraud. There's only fraud that's coming after that initial initiation of fraud. So then, obviously they could continue their legal capitalist games, pretend, for the people who hadn't get their heads around this and said, hang on, I'm just going to ask the very simple question, have I got the right of use of that? That's it. Nobody needs to understand any other than that. Just call the people that you think have got the jurisdiction of that name and ask them, have you got the right of use of it? And then it'll start to make, you start to practice this. So then, so they were still able to play their game of commerce because it's legal fiction, nothing really going on here except ledger book laundering. But the misery, obviously, that it creates as it's being played out by us, accepting this as fact. It was still being, people being made homeless, people not understanding that they've got the rights to go and feed themselves and their right to shelter, etc. Because the government said, it's legal. We're not asking whether it's legal. We want to know, is legal lawful? And the answer is no, it's not. So we took it to the Epicratia, the Supreme Court of State, to examine, is the legal fiction a valid method of ID? And no, they're still looking. They're still looking a year later. Here we are, the Epicratia, Supreme Court of State, and they cannot make a decision because there's nothing for them to decide because they don't exist. And so what we've got from that is a universal injunction that until you can find a contract that any of our creditors of our universal law community trust, we're standing surety to the definition of universal law now, not the Vatican. And we're saying that we do not grant authority for anybody to use any of the equitable rights or stock shares bonds that were once credited to that legal fiction. You've been given back Rome to Rome. What is Rome's? You don't want it. So the people obviously got wind, finally, we've got enough people in England and Wales and Scotland to go, right, okay, I'm going to put my name in there now. And here's my authority to act. So the debt started building quicker and quicker. We went in then and smashed the credit rating on the 25th of February this year. Last year, 25th of February 2020. There was a sizable debt secured against the Her Majesty's government of 10 quadrillion, using their definition of what it was that they had the right of use of, legal fictions, assets, everything that they've already claimed. So we weren't making a claim, we were just saying, whatever you said, it's that. It refers to that with this other reference number that we've got in our ledger roll. And the stock market opened the next day. It crashed. It lost 2,000 points. They had to cease trading. Why? Because you know yourself, you can't raise credit, can you? If your credit rating is smashed. And they wrote a code that says they had to have a AAA credit rating in order to trade on their own stock market as well. It's just disappeared because it's got a 10 quadrillion lien stamp next to it. So they couldn't trade anymore. Then they ceased trading 15 minutes and injected credit into it, and it crashed again. So they then had to come up with, coronavirus came along at that point between the next 13 days. That was because they didn't have a pot of belief for your mind to be laundered through anymore. They couldn't use that laundering mechanism, which is what the Securities Exchange Commission is and the Trust Depository Corporation company was using, because suddenly you became an unquantifiable commodity. They didn't know who Minister Moven at every address in every house. With this council tax bill suddenly coming to Minister Moven, their data became worthless. We don't know who the hell these people are anymore. The number plates on the cars, the VIN number's been assigned. We can't even get them in a commercial situation because they've quietened the presumption that commerce can be created on their rights. That's what has happened here. So after that, they had to create another laundry pot for your belief. It's called coronavirus. Here comes Bill Gates now. Oh, I'll let you appear to still be in charge as the government, but behind, obviously, the clowns are these people feeding this system. So I'm Bill Gates now, as long as you tell everybody that it's coronavirus and give them the propaganda, that means that I can hedge my bets on the amount of indemnity that I'm going to put behind you, all of your corporate, all your corporation, corporate foreign governments filed inside the Securities Exchange Commission. I'm going to stand surety to that with Microsoft. But you lot, my little puppets, have to tell the public that something really scary is going to come and get you. The coronavirus has been released. The corona is many things. Corona means crown in Greek. The corona of the sun, your crown chakra. And what you've actually, it also is the oscillating, where the 5G actually oscillates the oxygen molecules and creates in its corona oscillation. So when you breathe it in, your body thinks it's under attack, so you actually create the symptoms of coronavirus, which is flu-like symptoms. Now, what in order for them to be able to pull this off, obviously they had to give you the propaganda, lock up your children, the coronavirus is going to come and get you, you can't operate your business, all so that they could drive you into this frenzied state where you'll accept all of this pantomime. And eventually you'll say yes to the vaccine, because they're going to say, no, because of coronavirus, you can't travel, so you need to have a vaccine, so you're going to compromise yourself and take this. Inside there is a chip, and I believe it's also inside the test. And in that chip is made by a company called Biohacks. Biohacks sold 20% of their shares to a company called Icon Capital Group. Now, Icon Capital Group, if you have a look at them, they are the JP Morgan and such like who have created gold time. Now, you've all heard of Nasara and Jasara, I'm sure, which has been quietly being pumped away in the background as a solution to this. This is you assigning your consent, so they're going to come to you with the vaccine. Right, what's the first thing they say before they give you any pharmaceuticals so they can open up your credit file and launder it? What's your name? Can you just confirm your name for me, please, love? Oh, I've been sitting in hospital here for a week and you don't know what my name is. Yeah, but I just need you to say your name anyway. Why? Because that's you assigning your right of the share of this planet and its resources back to the serial number that's in that chip. And off you go now, all of your rights and your share of the planet's resources now being laundered in cryptocurrency through your biohacks chip. So you will get 1,200 slave tokens worth of credit, and you will be able to go into the shops and the corporations and you'll be able to fund their corporate slavery one more time if you don't do something now about it. And that we're at the level now where it's at the restoration of rights of the creditor. So just like the bank would say to you, you've got a debt, you haven't paid it, here comes the heavies, that kick you out of your property. We are doing the same thing now, using their legal definitions back at them. And we want them to say, you can't do this, it's not legal. Because by them saying you can't do this, it's not legal, everything that they have ever secured or claimed to be as being the secured party creditor to, they dissolve themselves and their status as well. And so we have had a couple of very nice receipts. The land registry, what we did was acquire title on some properties. So here comes the creditors now. So you've always been the creditor, but you've always been crediting your own slavery system. Now you're going, right, I know I'm the creditor. I'm the secured party creditor to HM government instead of the unsecured party crediting HM government. And I've secured my rights because I'm now under universal law again with them. And I'm not granting them away like some incapacitated legal mind. I don't know what I'm doing. I am taking this debt that I agreed to make, and I am saying, as the official receivers would to any bankrupt party, here is the collateral of my right of use of my house. This debt here that the bank is saying that I owe them is 250 grand, let's say. I'm giving the right of use of my house to the trust, your family trust, nobody else, to use it for perpetuity. And I've given it a value of 250,000, and I'm going to use this debt to offset the debt that is owed to Universal Law Community Trust by HM government. So can you please, Big Blue Asset Management, who is our cooperation, if you like, cooperative, Big Blue Asset Management, there is the debt that I have been creating and I would have credited, and I'm giving it up, I'm retiring from being a Vatican debt slave. Take that for what it's worth, that piece of paper, and add 250 grand to the 10 quadrillion deficit that Her Majesty's government have got. And what did you do just become then? Secured party creditor. You became the settler. You became the executor of your own estate. You became your own trustee, your own leasee, leaseor, your own transferee, transferor. You took back all of those titles and you stood surety to the liability that you used to make with your indebted mind. And that is you restoring your rights to your mind to use the planet and its resources right this time. And it looks like a rock in your hand. So I'll come to that bit in a minute. Has anybody got any questions on what I've just said?
I mean, I would say that if Nick and Mandy and Vina or anything like me the first time, it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. We both sitting here now, and yeah, we've kind of it's fascinating what you said, and it's opened up like a whole new well, bag of questions, if you like. So my point is like healthcare. So how do we secure healthcare and things like that if we're removing ourselves from the system? And
okay, well, is anything that you've got right now remotely offering you healthy care?
no, I know it's not.
It's not. So who's asked the question? Because there's a couple of people that take themselves off mute. Sorry.
It's Nick.
No, right, okay. Okay. So what we've got, what we've been doing in the background while you've been all doing whatever it was you were doing, we've restored the rights to hospitals. We've got nurses, doctors, we've got engineers, gas engineers, plumbers, designers of jet engines, inventors, graphic designers, farmers, growers, builders, carers, people who make natural remedies, herbalists, cannabis oil producers, all of it really. I've just put a list up for these different headings to the teachers that have come across to us. You are the community, you know, anyway. You've been, when you say about healthcare, you've got all of these healthcare professionals who've been swearing an oath to the Hippocratic Oath, which if you actually read the Medici family's version of that, is the exact opposite. It's the Hippocracy's oath. So, you know, the whole system is set up. If I feed you GMO food out of my supermarket, and you come in there and you buy that with your card, that information goes up into the stock market, and somebody like me that I used to be when I worked for De Beers will take that information and contact a trust fund manager for JP Morgan or Coutts and say, right, this number, because of what it did yesterday, is a great investment for pharmaceuticals 5 years, 10 years, 12 years from now. So that's what's happening at the moment as far as healthcare goes. So what I'm saying is that there isn't anything that anybody's got that can't be healed naturally at all. We've got Riker machines that are used by resonance. We've got healing machines. We've got electromagnetic machines. We've got people with amazing skill sets and talents who ordinarily would have granted all of that wonderful potential into a system like the NHS. And they've said, no, we're not doing it. We absolutely categorically refuse to credit that system. What else is there? And so that's what we've been doing. We've been creating these communities where, I mean, there's some shops, posters, pictures of shops on the Facebook group where we've opened shops where, you know, you come and you get your white willow bark instead of your, which is nature's aspirin. You get your cannabis oil instead of your pharmaceutical chemical explosions and chemical warfare in the name of science. You've got access to, we have the coronavirus antidote. And all that we've done is replicate the system as the, okay, CDC standards, pharmaceutical standards, GMO testing standards. You test it for 3 months. So we took our own natural remedy. We tested it on 10,000 people over a period of 3 months, and not one of them have had the symptoms of coronavirus. So we put it in a bottle and we sent it out there. And if you spray it on yourself, you then get a certificate to say, I have got a coronavirus immunity record. I've got my own healthcare provider that I trust more than you lot, and I can have it in a syringe. So if they're going to come to you with a syringe in the name of healthcare, by their own logic, you can come to them with a syringe, can't you? You've got an unknown substance in a syringe and you're coming to me in the name of healthcare. I've told you that I've already had some DNA altering substance that I've been given from my own private healthcare trust. So I'm not accepting your definition of healthcare anymore because I've got my own. And if you think that you can come and stab me with that, then I can, by your own logic, can stick you with this, right?
I understand that, but in the case of a car accident, for example,
well, in the case of the car accident,
surgery, could I still expect treatment at my local hospital?
Well, you can do that with all your rights reserved. You can still use that legal fiction. You can take another legal fiction and use that. You can ask for it's a release of commercial instrument. So if you are under duress in that situation, you need that. Because we haven't as a community got all together and created our own hospital, so you will be coming to there instead, which is very simple to do, using the Monopolies and Mergers Act and the free market. When they became a private corporation or a private police force or a private council, it opened up the doors for everybody else to do the same thing, but nobody bothered. So if you were in an accident and you were going to be taken to the hospital, are they going to ask you at the point there where you're unconscious and you're bleeding out? Are they going to ask you what your name is anyway? Are they, under the law, they can't leave you in the street? Did you know that?
Yeah, right. So where are the biggest communities near us in South Wales?
Well, you're the first guys in South Wales.
Right.
Got some in North Wales. They've got Bristol, Birmingham, Worcester, Derby, Stoke, Cornwall, Devon, London, Yorkshire, obviously, Lancashire, Manchester.
Nick, excuse me, guys. I don't know if I told you this, Nick, but there's a guy I used to coach his son at my academy, and he's a senior oncologist, and he's interested. So it's people like that. The aim is to get people like that into the community, and
right.
literally build our own health service. This time we do it by the people for the people rather than because most people think the NHS is that, Nye Bevan and all that, but it's not. Even if I don't even know if it ever was, but if it was, it's definitely not now. So
no.
So yeah, that's interesting about.
So like an ambulance driver would say, "What's your name? What's the name?" You've been in an accident.
Minister Ben. My name's Minister Ben.
And then basically they'd treat you.
Yeah, and my name's Minister Ben all the time.
Hmm.
They don't know. They don't know. Have they got a national insurance account checking information there? No. What's your name, Minister Ben? If you can speak at that point.
And my only other question was, I don't know, Mandy might have questions, I don't know, but my other question was, have others had experience, dealing with bailiffs, for example?
The bailiffs can't come.
Challenging bailiffs coming to the door.
The processes where what you're doing is you are giving back the legal fiction and you are using Minister Emma Venn as your legal title. So all of the bills go into the name of Minister Emma Venn and they come to us then. So if you want to, you can settle the debt in the legal fiction and do it, or you can assign immediately the supply of your gas, your water, electricity, your debt to Minister Emma Venn, and you simply just do that by sending your house number and postcode, or going into the council's website and putting Minister Emma Venn as the occupier of your mind at that address in that system.
Righto.
And all the bills go into Minister Emma Venn's name, and we stand surety to you. So my 5 hours is to negotiate with the debt equity swap. Now, this company, British Gas, is saying Minister Emma Venn at this address has used this amount of its supply, and I go to British Gas and say, right, British Gas, where's your assignment of consent? I haven't granted you the assignment of consent to utilise our share of this resource of gas.
So you would do that on behalf of somebody signing up, would you?
Yeah, that's my 5 hours. That's what I.
So and how would I then, or somebody else, repay you for your time?
By you giving 5 hours to somebody in your community.
Right. Okay. It just seems too good to be true, doesn't it?
What, 5 hours for 5 hours?
Yes, I know. It just seems so simple the way you say it, but
doesn't it seem equal?
No, yes, it does. But
that's what they've taught you. They've taught you that everything that's too good, everything good can't be true, and everything bad is true. So when you hear a very simple exchange like that, my expertise for yours, I can't build a, you know, I don't, what is it that you do, Nick?
Me, I'm a painter, an artist.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember speaking to you on the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't teach children how to paint. I can't, you know, I have a dabble now and again and I like it, but I'm not going to be, I'm not, that is not my skill. My skill is this. And this is what I give freely, because I don't want my children and my grandchildren, and if we do come back as recycled energy, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
And
we have Mandy's husband is got an electrical company, a data company. So they do contracts all around the country. So I mean, what you're basically saying is that the final goal is to rebut all things like income tax, council tax, everything, really, isn't it?
We're settling it. That thing exists there because of your belief that that's yours, that you have a liability. So I buy your liability for your 5 hours in exchange for mine. And so that frees you up then as a community to create the kindness credit community where you are immediately private because you're using your own currency. So all of your business, I actually do this with businesses, we lift the business into what's the equivalent of a tax haven. I used to do this and they used to pay me thousands of slave tokens to do this and create the equivalent of an LLP company for you. That business then becomes a private affair, and it's very simple. You just send me an invoice and I convert it into kindness credits, and you do the same thing with your suppliers as we do with ours. And the people who you're interacting who don't know about kindness credits, you can bring the price down of the service that you provide to those people still stuck in slavery, so that because you haven't got the gas, water, electricity, council tax, debt, HMRC to add on to the price of your service.
Right.
So suddenly the guy who's still in slavery or the woman who's still in slavery can suddenly afford organic food now. Let's say you're an organic food producer and people can't afford it, so they go to Lidl. And instead, we could say to the organic food producer, right, your box of veg starts at 25 slave tokens. Knock off, give me the gas bill and knock that off each tomato. Give me your council tax, knock that off the cucumbers, so on and so forth. And in the end, the veg box, it's really £5. Everybody can afford it then. It just takes one person, which was to break the chain and say, you cannot pay me. I mean, the offers that I have, you know, Visa offered, they wanted to buy this for 10 million this year. No, you can't have it because you cannot compensate us with slave tokens anymore. We haven't got any value to them. What we've got is the value of each one out of that slavery system.
My neighbor, for example, now he deals with big companies like Nike, who else? Giorgio Mama Baby, big companies. Now, how would he receive payment for his services from companies like that?
Okay,
international companies.
Yeah, so he'd take the trust. So he puts his company name and registration number inside his trust, and the company pays into the holding account instead of directly to hit that business. And he gets a receipt to say, this is how much kindness credits has just hit your account. And then he's got a receipt to send to HMRC to say, I've been paid this amount of rocks. How many rocks do you want, HMRC? Because he did a money conversion. Imagine if I'm a company in Greece and you're in England and I order something from you. You're not going to pay me in pounds because I don't accept pounds, do I? You have to pay it into an account and that has to convert it into my local currency.
So what would they pay into an account?
They just pay into a holding account that he would set up as a trust holding account. We've got one, but we've got one that everybody uses. Right. But the idea is that you have one for yourself. You create one and say, right, okay, that's my fiat currency. I've got all rights reserved to it because I did these steps and assigned the liabilities of it.
Oh, I see. So they're actually putting in the fiat currency that we use today into that account?
Without the tax. There's no
Yeah,
tax.
I see. Yeah.
That's step one of converting your business into kindness credits so that you don't have to charge tax because you're a tax haven. Like,
so what was that account called, you do say there? Sorry?
It's a holding account.
A holding account.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then let's say as a business, you go, right, okay, there's something that I need to buy in Slaveville. We call it Slaveville now. So I need to take some of those funds in slave tokens and send them to another slave token account to get the thing that my community doesn't supply at the moment. Petrol, let's say petrol.
Right, right. So that holding account would be set up in a traditional bank, would it?
It is. It's a Lloyd's Bank holding account.
Okay, I see.
And the less we use it, so what happens is every time you move fiat currency, you create 10 to the power of 10 in debt. So let's say Nike paid him down. He sent Nike an invoice for what he's going to do is so the invoice is changed. So the invoice would say to Nike, right, yeah, you need to pay me 10,000 slave tokens worth of kindness credits. You haven't got any kindness credits, so just pay me into my converting account. This is my IBAN number. The 10,000 goes in there, and he gets a receipt, a bill of exchange. Now he's exchanged the 10 grand for, divided by 8, that amount of kindness credits.
All right. That kind of makes sense, yes. So until the community is big enough to do without it altogether, isn't it? The fiat currency.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's the idea. That's the goal. And with this app that Nikki's been developing, I can see it just going like that overnight. Because if I, in one step, if I can discharge all of my liabilities and put my 5 hours into something that everybody can see, that's just going to go viral. Because suddenly my 5 hours, my overheads are £1,000 a month, let's say, and I have to work 55 hours a week to pay it. Then, and I only have to give 5 to the community. Then divide the £2,000 a month, £1,000 a month by 5, by 20 hours a month. What's your hourly rate now? We've got financial logic documents that we've used with businesses and sole traders and even people working this out for themselves on a private basis. And, you know, how many customers do you need each month? If I'm going to give you £100 now, and your overheads are 1,000, you need 100 customers like me every month. Are you likely to get 100 customers like me every month in the middle of coronavirus? No. And they know that. So they're actually being paid furlough to stay at home and not open your business so they can smash your economy, and that the only thing that you've got left then are these big corporations that are allowed to stay open, like supermarkets, and you can only pay by card. You're already going, it's your chip there. It's just a chip that's not inside your body yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you could turn around and say, right, here I am. I'm not even in Wales now. I've gone across the country. Let's say I'm in London. Gone to London, and I want to know where I've got, where can I go for eating that accept kindness credits. You've put your 5 hours in, and you can go across there and say, right, okay, I'm part of the trust. I found you on the thing, found you on the app, and I'm here to exchange my 5 hours. Can eat for free.
Right. Oh, it sounds good.
Because it's an exchange. It's everybody. You know, like timeshare works. Do you know how timeshare works? Where they all put their weeks in a pot, and then you take the week out. You might have a week in Tenerife, but you want to go to Florida.
Yeah.
So if somebody's put it in, you can take it out. So you do that direct exchange with somebody, and suddenly nobody is interloping on your private exchanges anymore. You've got the details of the person that you want to do the exchange with, and you speak to them, and you go, if they've already put their 5 hours in and somebody's already taken it out, then you're saying, right, okay, well, I've got this amount of kindness credits, pay with kindness credits. Which account would you
got a tech guy or lady working on an app for the community, is there, you were saying?
She's already done it for some, she
Right.
already did it for coaches. Nikki's on here now. I think she just popped off and came back on. And she's thrown it open to us and said, look, put your columns in here, put your list what it is, that the headings that you want that people are going to, you know, like Yellow Pages, restaurants, plumbers, engineers, merchants, you know. Oh, we missed
the business directory, like you.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Any questions, man?
No, I'm blown away. To be
Yeah,
honest.
we're all trying to
to
take it all in. We are, yeah. But
Okay.
thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for some value.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll let somebody else speak now.
Okay, so it made a bit more sense to you.
Yes, yeah.
Good. I'm sure you'll have other questions as we go on.
Good questions there, Nick. Is Gina still on, or is she gone?
It's gone.
Gina's gone. Okay. I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
So we've been speaking about catching up about this, Lisa, but we haven't quite actually had the conversation. But I mean, Mandy knows my sister very well because she used to care for her, and did a great job. So as you might remember, you might not, my sister has severe learning difficulties, and she's looked after by, I believe it's, I can't remember the name. It used to be Walsinghams, who are a charity, I think, officially, but it's overseen by social services. So she lives in a house where there's round-the-clock care, pretty much one-to-one support, because my sister can't speak at all. She does speak. She does communicate non-verbally, very expressively. But they have already given her the flu jab, which we didn't even know about. Okay, so I'm in a position now where I've got two challenges. Number one, how can we actually use the trust and universal law to get her free of this tyrannical agenda? You know, clearly they're going to stick the jab in her as soon as they can. So we want to. Now, my family want to avoid that, but the other challenge then is they're very skeptical about universal law because they don't get it. They've had a look at the website. You know, you've heard it a million times. So I've got a meeting with them tomorrow morning. So I've got two challenges. Number one, to actually understand how to do it. So I'm assuming that we would do a restoration of rights on another property, get my sister into there, use kindness credits to deliver the staff to look after her, I would imagine. Then how do I convince my family, or is there a way I can do it without them? I don't know.
It's consent again, isn't it? So it's evidence of life form. She needs an evidence of life form. I'm sure I've already explained this to you a few weeks ago. Okay, we'll do it again. She needs an evidence of life form doing. The trust needs to be set up as a family trust. You can do that yourself, and you can appoint yourself as the trustee of her share of the family trust.
Okay.
Then the problem is, while she's in there, they're using the legal fiction. I would really hammer it home to, are your parents still alive?
Yeah, it's going to be my mother, my father, and my two brothers.
Right.
So.
Okay, well, I would, to exemplify what I'm saying is true, I'd get my birth certificate out and theirs, and I'd call the Home Office on a loudspeaker, and I'd ask them, have I got the right of use of the legal fiction, and is it a Crown copyrighted logo? And what are the implications if I use it? Just that. Just to, you know, to kind of buoying somebody into reality, let's say, or out of fiction, if this is reality. I would put the care home on notice that the account has been secured, that they haven't got any right to trade on there. The council need a restoration of rights doing, and obviously we need to be able to facilitate this kind of care home. What about doing a restoration of rights on the actual care home that she's already in?
All right, so you could do it on one that's already been used, is that?
Yes, of course. They've been. What people need to understand is that document that we got back from Companies House, that's where we stopped the government dissolving themselves as a private corporation. We wanted them to say, no, the secured party credit standing has no, status has no standing. And obviously, like I said before, if they had done that, then everything, or the whole system, that's the cherry that I'm trying to pop off the cake of the illusion. Now, any company, which includes that company that may or may not be trading as UK Government Limited, if you look at the incorporation document that they filed, their first filing, it describes what a government could do, such as lobby Parliament, create executive orders within Parliament, Ministry of Trade, etc. Anybody who writes that needs securing in a straitjacket anyway, as far as I'm concerned, as a private corporation, implying that it could do such things. So it's what we got back from Companies House was that the standing, the UCC one and the secured party filing, it has got the standing that is required to secure yourself against any company. Now, they missed the point. Obviously, I went back to them and said, you've clearly missed the point. It's not about just one company here. It's about you, Companies House, not being able to execute any order regarding any dissolution of any companies. You're not able to license any new companies. The presumption of commerce upon our rights has been quietened. Now, the care home has been granted a license from the local council that's got its license from HM government. So I would do a restoration of rights like we've done at the school on that property itself. I'd do a debt equity swap and I'd take them a receipt. And I'd send one up to the land registry to the with a quiet title, and I would secure that particular building.
And then what do we do with the staff? Did we just say to them, this is...
They can stay if they want. All of their liabilities are discharged if they stay. We work out a new rota. You put in a reset program in there so that the food is being supported by the organic food growers. Goes in and makes sure that the people's health and well-being starts with a healthy stomach for a start off, instead of eating GMO that destroys the wall lining of your stomach and your bowels. And we would be looking at the pharmaceuticals that they were pumping them with and why. We would be installing another program for them to be able to access the natural remedies instead, and the healing with all of the people that we've got that I mentioned before.
Okay. And okay, so
we put that. I think what we should do is, anyway, whether your family agree with it or not, because it's not, you're obliged to prevent a crime from being enacted, all of you, no matter what else that I've said or not said. That in itself, we're either complicit or we're not. Now, if we know that not just our loved ones, but anyone is at risk by any of these agents and so-called services of coming and enforcing their belief on us, then, and causing harm in doing so, then it's very simple, they've broken the law. And I'm not about to stand by and let somebody do that to anybody in my community, whether I'm related to them or not. So I would, sorry, I'd just finished this. I'd restore the rights. I put the company on notice that's there. I'd notify them that the property itself has been used as a debt equity swap, that they do have an opportunity to continue with their contracts, but the contracts will be rewritten. You can see there's documents in the Facebook group of the Distimo Reset program that we put into the schools and the suppliers here and their services, and they shut the schools. And that's why your schools are shut, because of obviously the coronavirus is on the loose, and which is us, and we're just not accepting it anymore as law. It's not.
So you're saying, I didn't realize this, I mean, I may be wrong. Are you saying that the whole shutdown worldwide is because of what universal law did?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying, yeah?
Yes. Have a look on the 25th of February, that's the date of the filing, and have a look at the stock market on the 26th. And then have a look at it as it falls and falls and falls and falls, because HM government...
I'm assuming they expected something like this because people like the Universal Law Community Trust were making inroads for a number of years anyway. So because it seems like it was all planned years ago anyway.
Well, it was, and they, you know, all we did, I jumped the gun. I just suddenly turned around and I said, I'm going to do it now. And as we did it, I was like, well, as them have ended it, and pressed that filing. The guy that was here with me, Yorgos, was just like, oh my God, can't you feel it? And it was like the whole, everything negative in the universe was pinpointed right in our front room. And I just pushed it away, and I said, don't give it any value. That's it. And he was like, oh God, oh God. I said, that's it. It's done. And have a look. Go back and have a look. Have a look at the AstraZeneca shares when we secured AstraZeneca. What happened? Oh, we've suddenly not able to do what it is that we thought we were going to do now. Because we've had an adverse reaction. Your stocks and shares took an adverse reaction because we secured them. But then they've, you know, gone along. Then AstraZeneca fights then to the fore, and all the time it's going to be GlaxoSmithKline. Really, behind it all is Bayer and Bayer, Monsanto, and DuPont. You know, we know who they are, and the fact that we still allow them to walk the planet, the people that have created this, is absolutely beyond my comprehension. That all this information's out there, and it's taken coronavirus to get you locked down in front of your laptops. The first wave, obviously, in when we first started doing these webinars in April, was because I wasn't doing any of it. I was like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm driving around doing my thing, and nobody comes anywhere near me, because I've put my time and effort into putting them on notice. They know that there's no contract with me. You know, I've gone and put these steps in place, and you know, that's why I can sit there and say, right, well, I know now that if you do this and this and this, that cannot happen. What would happen if you did use the name? If you use the coronavirus, I mean, I've got a really funny story. I'm not going to say it on here. I'm going to speak about it tomorrow. About what happened last night at 1:30 in the morning up the bloody mountain with the coronavirus van and 2 police officers, and it was hilarious what went on. Hilarious. Just was that, and the guy Yorgos is in the van, absolutely in pieces, and I'm standing there. It's like, you know, it's pseudocost. You know, it's fraud. And you're asking me, what am I doing out here? As a coronavirus, we're catching the coronavirus. We are the coronavirus. And the policeman's like, what's that say on her van? What's that say on her van? It says this. There you go. Do you want an immunity? I'll spray you with this. No, Asta. The chief of police is shouting. Anyway, it only works in England, he said. I said, hola, nielos. Everything is the walk of light. And that was it. Boing, off he went. He's like, okay, well, okay, bye. Why? Because I've been there. I've put them in the picture about it all. I put myself out there. I did 90 days in the prison to prove this works, because I knew that they couldn't keep me any longer. If this was true, they would go to my credit file and find that they couldn't get out 1,100 euros a day for keeping me there. So I said to my daughter, if I'm not out on the 90th day, then we'll think about paying them the 21,475 euros and 75 cents they wanted for me to buy off a 5.5-year sentence.
So we wouldn't be taking over, missing out the middleman and accessing her credit file, because they're doing the same thing with her, and it's like thousands of pounds to look after her a week, thousands of slave tokens. So, but we wouldn't be doing that. We would be doing it all through kindness credits. Is that right? Or would
they're not going to be laundering anybody's credit file. That's shut down. That system's shut down. That's why they had to build the coronavirus pot for them to launder that through. So as long as everything gets written off as coronavirus, then the government can claim on the indemnity pot that Bill Gates has stumped up so that it can exist. We're not doing any of that. Those care homes laundering their people's credit files, and the people who are actually looking after them, and the food that they get. You know, the £1,100 a week for that, you know, peck pork and frozen chips. And you wonder why, you know, and the same thing for the poor people who are working there and going there because they love to care for people, not because I've got to go here to pay me bills and I really hate it and I don't really want to be here. But
that's it. That's one of the main problems. As you know, we've had people like Mandy who look brilliant at looking after her, and then there's some good people there who are great at looking after her, and there's some who clearly just there for the pick up the money, you know, which isn't great anyway. But
yeah, but then what we're doing is we're just compounding our own debt, aren't we? If we don't break the chain of that, then the poor people who are coming to work there are coming with this indebted mind. I'm only here because I've got to pay my bills. I'm not doing it because I love you and I want to care about you. And I love looking after people who are in that position because it makes me feel good. And so that that level of care doesn't reach our standard anymore. It's not care. And I'm gonna unleash you to look after my loved one in your incapacitated mind, which you've got no respect for the job that you're doing, because otherwise you would not be prepared to accept, first of all, £8 an hour to do it. You would not accept to be dishing up the kind of food and injecting the pharmaceuticals in them because somebody told me to, because I want to keep my job, because I want to keep my house, because I want to keep my electricity on that's actually mine already and I never had to pay for it. So by us giving that 5 hours to those people and saying, look guys, we're more than happy for you to come and continue here looking after the people, but this is the level of care that you're going to meet and you're going to be assessed on it. And if you don't meet that level of care, then you're out. There's none of this third warning or anything like that. You breached a contract, that's it, you're finished. Because these are people's lives that we're talking about. We're not talking about, you know, oops, I made a mistake and I forgot to put a label on a sticky back, you know, a bit of plastic around some soap. So if it's called vicarious liability, and it starts and it finishes with every single one of us. If we cannot have the foresight to see that by my taking this action, it is likely that if I cut somebody's benefits, they're going to be in the street. And I'm a politician, or I'm the Ministry of the Department of Work and Pensions, and I can't foresee that, then I shouldn't be sitting there doing that job, should I?
What was that? Said there, like something liability, what did you say?
Vicarious liability.
Vicarious.
Yeah.
As in vicarious experience, looking after someone else.
You absolutely and okay, we get that you think, oh God, you know, if the care homes are only paying £8 an hour, are you going to get somebody who is fully qualified, who has got a deep and thorough understanding of this particular symptom that somebody is suffering from? Are they going to go to the root of the cause to try to remedy it in any way? No, you're going to get some poor little 25-year-old school leaver who's come off universal credit on a Kickstarter scheme to come in there and, you know, wheel them about and throw them at the table and hope that they hit a chair. And that is not a definition of care. It is a definition of complete and utter slavery being compounded to harvest the energy of fear and hate. And so by us stepping forward and saying, right, we know the structure to this. We will take away all the liabilities. And so instead of you getting £8 an hour, come and do 5 hours a week, do it really well, and all of your liabilities are covered. Now, you were paying out, what, £600, £800 a month? And you were having to work 55 hours a week for that. Now you only have to work 20 in the month, and all of those liabilities are covered. And we'll even throw you in some organic food.
Okay, thank you. So can I just go through the steps then? So the evidence of life form, you said you go to the doctor to get that.
No, that's what I did. And people mustn't mix these stories up. This is all historic that I'm talking about. We've got our own live-born records, which is the equivalent of evidence of life form. As Minister Emma Venn, you'll evidence of us being alive. Have you got a stamp? Have you got your seal?
What do you mean, my thumbprint?
No. You mean the Minister Emma Venn seal?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, well, you need to order one of those then from the stamp factory and use Minister Ven on Facebook's homepage. It's a JPEG, and download that profile picture there, and you just let them know that it's from, normally it's from Kindness Credits at Gmail address, but you want one, so they'll give you a discount.
So it's called, sorry, what's it called again? Minister what?
I've told you all this loads of times, Frankie.
Oh,
But,
I don't think you have. I don't think you have.
I have a stamp factory. I remember vividly you were on 3 calls before you were, once when you were in Split.
Well, look.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's good for the video. It's good for the recording. Shouting at him. Kindness Credits. It's called the Stamp Factory.
Stamp Factory.
Yeah.
So, is there anyone else in the trust who can help me with this? Because you seem a bit frustrated. I don't want to be winding you up the wrong way. You know what
I'm
I mean?
not frustrated at all. I'm not frustrated at all. But I really do appreciate some due diligence. If I've taken the time out to come on Zoom rooms with you, whether it's once, twice, 3 times, or get a book, write it down what I'm saying to you, and
doing that now. You know, as I said to you, Lisa. I mean, you know, in the beginning, and I'm sure the people on the call who can relate. I mean, if you stopped every time you didn't understand something, you'd literally be stopping every second in the beginning. You know, and that's where I was probably when you recall telling me this. I don't even recall it.
This needs writing in a process sheet then for you, for people that you need, as soon as you've assigned your consent, you need to get a seal, because you do not sign anything ever again. You stamp it as Minister Ven. What you're doing is you're taking the jurisdiction of that document into universal law, and you're not using a sign of nature, a signature, which is,
you know. So you're basically stamping it instead of signing it, and it's all.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, and the reason for that is that you're in commerce, right? So there's a commercial agent, and you recognise it as a commercial agent, and you're not entering into contract with it. You're just getting it's just a piece of paper for a piece of paper. It's 2 legal fictions, exchanging a piece of paper. No equitable rights are being exchanged here or granted in this exchange. That's why you stamp it.
Okay, and so the stamp factory, so the seal then, something unique for me, or is it's a Minister Ven one, is it? Or
yes, you go onto the Facebook group, Facebook page of Minister Ven, and the profile picture. If you click it, you can download that as a PDF, and you send that to the stamp factory and say you want a stamp making with that logo on it.
Download as PDF. Right, got it.
And it's with a red pad, a red ink pad you use.
Okay. And then and that's it then, is it? That's my evidence of life form.
Yeah, no, no, it's not your evidence of life form. That's how to create a stamp. How do you get your stamp? The evidence of life form's done by you sending the date of being born, the place, and the name that you've given your family trust.
So date of being born, place of being born, and the name of family trust.
Yeah. And then you get a live born record back.
Am I supposed to have already created that, the name of the family trust? Or is that something I get to do now? I don't recall doing that.
It's usually the last name.
All right, so it's just, yeah, okay.
But some people, you know, they might want to call it, as a community then, it was all of you together as family trusts. You create a community trust, which replaces the council. Then you take the executive decisions over what happens with your collateral. Let's say you want to build a turbines, a water-driven turbine to create electricity. So you need to put your shares in of the metal or the aluminium or the designer and the intellectual property rights of the inventor of it. And you all say, I agree, let's have one of them. So you are now brokering open your credit file and investing your shares of the planet and its resources in your own cooperations in your community.
Okay, so how do I register my family trust name? Is that...
You don't register it anywhere.
Okay, you just include it in... so we're talking about how I create an evidence of life form. So that's date of being born, place of being born, name of family trust.
Yeah. And so when we talked about the ledger book, well, you get your book, get a ledger book.
Yeah, I've got
and
one.
You write on there the name that you're giving your family trust. It's your family trust ledger roll book.
Got it. Okay. So I write the family trust name up on the front of the ledger book. And
that's your family trust. And then wait, open the first page. So now we're page 1, book 1. So it's 01 is this first ledger. So it's book 1, page 1, column 1, line 1. What was it? Assignment of consent to the Universal Law Community Trust. It created your trust. So it's the actual creation of your trust that when we talk about trust, it's not a trust, an express trust, a private trust. It is the thing that you feel in yourself now. I trust myself enough to do a better job than Boris and his bandwagon. And just that bit, I could trust my dog more to do a better job.
Yeah.
Could I butt in there? You know, when you say the family name, is that not the legal fiction name? It's the new name, is it?
It's what I mean. We've got people have called them, you know, without. I don't want to disclose the names of what people have called their trust. You could call it whatever the hell you like because it's yours. You determine this now for yourselves. What I've done is given everybody a packet. And what you do with that packet is what makes it so unique. Everybody's debt is the same. Everybody's in the same position. Everybody's got a mortgage or a rent to pay, or, you know, we've all got the same liabilities. And really what you're doing is you're recording the assignment of your debt that you have created and will create, putting it in a book and discharging it like the government should have done but didn't. You're doing the job for yourselves. And then what comes after that is down to each one of you inside your community. You know, we've got olive oil, for example. It's a resource-based economy that we've got. That stands surety to us. If we want, you know, we need a few slave tokens for whatever somebody's got petrol requirement, because they haven't gone to the petrol station and discharged the guy's debt for him, so they're still going and paying for it. And saying what we actually did when we had the online accounts to show how effective this was. I'll take this step by step. I put in one kindness credit, which is 8 slave tokens, into the holding account. That then gave me one kindness credit in my kindness credit account. I wanted chocolate off Joe, so I sent one kindness credit to Joe. And then whatever it was that Joe wanted from somebody else, or whoever it was we did the exchange with, they wanted, so they at that point there, eight slave tokens, one kindness credit, was accepted by Joe, but the money hadn't moved. It was still in the same place, so we hadn't caused 10 to the power of 10 in debt. So we hadn't created 800 slave tokens by moving 8. So then that one kindness credit was passed then to the next person, and they got a jar of honey, whatever it was, or the antidote. And then, so now that should have been 8 times 3 slave tokens, but it was still only one piece of paper. At any time, that the person who's holding the piece of paper could have exchanged it back to slave tokens, and that kindness credit would have been destroyed, and the 8 slave tokens would have been sent to their collecting account in fiat currency. But it went on, so we actually did 8 transactions, which meant there should have been 80 slave tokens in the account. There wasn't, there was still only 8. Because it isn't the money that you want, it's the thing that the piece of paper has got the belief behind it, has got some value to it that you're actually exchanging. And then on the 9th one, we sent it to somebody who was, his brother was up a mountain on his bike and he did need the petrol. And we sent the slave tokens to a Visa wallet account. So it was only actually moved once when I put it in and once when it went out. But we did 9 private transactions using the belief that any of the one of those people who were holding that piece of paper that represented 8 tax-free slave tokens, so it was really value of 10, could have turned it back into slave tokens at any time, but nobody wanted them until it got to number 9 and he needed it. Does that make sense to people?
That bit didn't make sense to me at this moment, to be honest.
Pardon?
It didn't make sense to me at this moment, to be honest.
Okay. Have you got £10?
On me right now?
Yeah.
It says, yeah, but not on me.
Okay. Write a piece of paper and write £10 on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, done.
Okay. And now you put in £10 in a pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll get another piece of paper.
Yeah.
And write on there, I think it's 1.25, let's work it out. So kindness credits says 10 divided by 8 is 1.25 kindness credits, okay? Like another piece of paper that says 1.25 kindness credits. Now those 2 pieces of paper are worth the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right, so £10 is the same as 1.25 kindness credits. Now, give that you're going into your community now. Have you got somebody sat next to you?
No, I don't.
Okay, imagine that you have. So you're going to give that 1.25 kindness credits now to Nick for an hour of teaching your child how to paint. Right?
Right. Nick, yeah.
So it's like a check. So you're passing that to Nick. Has the £10 gone anywhere?
No.
No.
No, it's still there, isn't it? Right. So now Nick is going to Nick wants to do an exchange or buy a litre of olive oil off me. So he's going to give that to me. I'm going to send him the olive oil, and he's still got change. He's actually got 0.25 of kindness credit change left in his kindness credit account because it's only 1 kindness credit for a litre of olive oil. So now I've got the kindness credit, haven't I?
Wait, I lost that just a second. So I've given Nick 1.25 kindness credits, and he wants a 1 kindness credits worth of olive oil from you. Is that right?
No. Sorry, yeah. So you've created the kindness credits and you've given it to Nick. Nick's given you whatever it was that you wanted, that he wanted that £10 for.
Yeah.
Now, Nick's got 1.25 kindness credits in his kindness credit account. So he looks down on the community list and goes, ooh, I'd like a bottle of olive oil. Let's say the olive oil is £10 or 1.25 kindness credits. So he sends me the kindness credits that you've given him.
So the olive oil is worth how much?
It's one kindness credit. So Nick's still got 0.25 in his kindness credit account.
Got that, yeah.
Right. So I've now got the kindness credit.
Yep.
Has the £10 moved?
No.
No.
No, I've still got that.
Right. Now, so now we've done 3 transactions, haven't we? If I give that now to Nikki, because Nikki's got something that I want. And so I said to Nikki, right, I've got one kindness credit here that was given to me by Nick, that was created by Frankie. And in the pot, if you want, you can turn it back into, you can exchange that piece of paper for that piece of paper, which says £10 on it. And Nikki's like, I don't want £10. I just want to be able to give you organic honey. So she's got honey. So I give her one kindness credit and she sends me the honey.
You've still got the £10 on that.
Still got the £10, haven't you? Really?
Yeah.
We should have all used 40 quid by now, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Nikki then turns around and she says to Charles, hey, Charles, I've seen what you're offering on the kindness credit page, and I'd like to buy an organic veg box, please. I'll have your little one that's only one kindness credit. So I'm going to send you one kindness credit to Charles. So Charles sends her the veg box. Now he's got the kindness credit. He can, if he wants, turn it back into £10, but he goes, oh, hang on a minute. I've seen what there is on kindness credits exchange, and I'm going to exchange with account number blah blah blah, and I'm going to send that kindness credit to them to get what I want. You can do infinite amounts of exchanges on £10 on one kindness credit on one token.
So everyone's getting what they want, but it's on.
Exactly. It's not the money that you need, it's the thing that you want the money for, to get you the thing that you want. What if I can get the thing that I want and I didn't need any money? I just needed a piece of paper that represented the thing
Around that
you still had the value in. It's only when we meet somebody who's got a value in slave tokens that they're going to, we can't provide what it is that particular individual needs right then, that they were going to need to swap it back to slave tokens. But it's there, it hasn't gone anywhere.
When you say about rocks, exchanging for rocks, that's what you mean, yeah? It's the same, you're basically saying it's the same thing.
Yeah, you don't want 16 rocks in your pocket for every one kindness credit, do you?
No.
Okay, so each rock is the same as 50 cents. So you come into my shop and I'll say to you, right, what do you want? I want an organic coffee. Okay, well, if you want organic coffee here in Greece and you pay me with slave tokens, you have to give me €4.50 or £4.50. But because I haven't got any liabilities, gas, water, electricity, license, I don't pay tax, I've only got to pay for the supplier of my coffee. I don't want to make any profit out of you. I want you to have organic coffee. So give me 50p, keep the other £4 of your slavery, and I'll show you something. Put the 50p on the counter and I give them a rock. What did I do there? Money exchange. And then I say to the customer, okay, now I've got the 50p, haven't I, to pay my coffee supplier. Say, right, well, what did you want, an organic coffee? Yeah, I want an organic coffee. Okay, it's one rock. I write my receipt, one coffee, one rock, and they give me the rock, and I give them the coffee and the receipt. And what do I pay my tax with?
There's no tax, is there?
no.
What do I pay my tax with? Whatever's written on the receipt. What did I write on the receipt? What was my legally accepted tender at point of sale? Rocks. I pay my tax with rocks. And we've actually done this to prove that all this works. Here in Greece, you have to have a license to even open a business. You have to have £5 grand in the bank. You have to jump through hoops and all sorts of stuff, especially if you want to open a restaurant or an eatery. You have to have health and safety and blah, blah, blah. So I'd stopped the church stealing somebody's house, and I said, if I can use the downstairs of it, I don't want any money. I want to prove that what I've been saying to everybody, use rocks. And they're all thinking that I'm talking about feeding Kronos rocks, which is their history, which I'll tell you about later. And So they said, yeah, we've got 10 years right of use of the downstairs of this building. So I set it up. All the people that I'd stopped the electricity companies from cutting off their electricity, they got free electricity. Stopped the banks. They all brought me honey and wine and oil and herbs, and instead of money, I didn't want the money. Just bring me honey. And I'll open the shop. So I opened the shop. The police turned up, and they're like, "Where are your papers?" And I'm like, oh, what do I need any papers for? And there's people eating food, and there's music in the garden, and things on the shelves behind me. And he said, "You've opened a shop." And I said, "Oh, define shop." He said, "You're selling things." I said, "Define sell." He said, "You're taking money." I said, "Define money." He said, "Euros." Whoop, I have to stop you there. Because I don't accept your dirty, filthy slave tokens in my exchange, I haven't got a contract with you. So if you don't F off right now, I'm going to arrest you for trespass, is what I said to him. And away they ran. And the town saw that, and they'd never seen anything like it in their lives, absolutely petrified of the tax and the police. And they're like, oh my God, what's going on? They thought I was secret police then, because they couldn't understand that I was actually just somebody exercising my rights. And then the tax office came. They wouldn't come in. They were standing on the other side of the road and trying to lean over to see inside the garden. So I went out and I said, "Can I help you?" And they said, "Oh, well, we're from the Etheria. We need to see your books." So I said, "Well, you don't. I haven't got any obligation to perform because I use rocks, but I'm kind and I'll show you my books. I've sold 10,000 coffees. How many rocks do you want?" Because I've sold 10,000 rocks, 10,000 coffees, 10,000 rocks. Off they went. "Take what you want. There's a whole beach down there. Go and help yourself," is what I said. Then they sent the, what do they call the people that come? Environmental health. These like men in black at the door, and a man and a woman, glasses on. Even if you are using rocks, and even if this is private, even if you are using rocks, we can still, you're still feeding the public food, so we can come in and check your kitchen. I just said, look, if you go to that, we want this woman and man together. If you go to this woman's house for your tea tonight, do you take your friends around to check the state of her kitchen before you go around there? No, it's private. Shut the door. That's it. You answered your own question. It's private. Now, because of that, and I know it's because of that, that signal went out. We had people from all over the world come. We stopped traffic on the roundabout. The police, they tried to get us for putting signs out because they couldn't do anything else. And we said, okay, well, if we can't put our signs out, why can't we put signs out? Because you're distracting the drivers. And I said, well, I'll take my signs down then when you could get Nike to take their signs down at the traffic lights in Athens, if that's the reason why. Nothing. And that's why they tried to give me 5.5 years, really, for that, but they couldn't, because they couldn't touch me for that. So they built a case of cannabis against me and smashed them with that as well. Then after they'd let me out, actually I was claimed out of the court, out of the prison, by the Minister and the then reading a script in the court in Syros, where I was claimed as chattel, salvage, by universal law, and that I belonged to them. And then they tried to kick me out, what do they call it, deport me, because if you've got a sentence over a year in Greece, you have to go back to the country that you came from.
Don't worry.
So they said, where are you from? And I said, the universe, send me back there. And he said, no, what country are you from? Don't recognise countries, they're borders in your mind. What state are you from? Stateless. Where's your ID? You're looking at it. The Blue Peter sticky back plastic ID card with your mugshot on it, because that's all that the system deserves. He's looking at him. He said, well, I'm going to have to call every embassy that's registered here in Greece to find out who's going to claim you. They use those words. I said, well, good luck with that, because I was claimed by universal law, and that's why I'm standing here and not doing 5.5 years. So off we went downstairs, god awful cell. So I cleaned that, thinking I was going to be there from the Friday to the Monday at least, when the embassies opened again. And he came on Saturday morning and he just said, hey, you missus, whoever you are, you need to get out. And I said, who, go where? And he said, you, wherever you want. And I said, I thought you were checking every embassy in Greece. They said, I did, and nobody wants you. And that was it. No, I have no papers. I have no obligation of performance with any corporate state. And that's what it is. And that's what I'm offering in exchange for 5 hours of people's time, is complete freedom from this corporate system. So obviously along came the coronavirus then, put you all on lockdown, and to get you in front of your laptop so that you couldn't really deny this as being true anymore, that the system was set up to terrorize you, and that you did have an obligation to learn your rights. So we had a big wave of people then between April and the doors opened again, because everybody said, yeah, we've got it, we'll go out there, we'll create these communities. You didn't. You took the money that you'd saved from all of those bills and you went and invested it in plastic shit. And so off we went again, back on lockdown. Have you got it yet? No. Now we have to come with this fear of threat and violence to you to make you actually get up and say, there's 500,000, is there, for each one of them? Or something like that. What are you doing? Why are you not got together? I mean, we've opened pubs in England, and they had a private party there, and the police didn't come, obviously. We've gone and restored rights to hospitals. Police can't come. The land, people have been standing on the land 8 hours waiting for the police to come. They cannot come. Why? Because we secured them. And they're just learning this now. It's taken 2 years, 3 years really, to educate this legal system here, this administrative system in the law. You've got easier in one way and more difficult in the other, because they've got this mind cognitive dissonance of common law. Common law was created from a contract created under duress, which is the Magna Carta. And if any contract created under duress is fraud. So you can't run around saying, I'm under duress, give me my common law rights. Because your common law rights were written down by some man and signed with a knife to his throat. So, you know, it's just in the vortex for you to end up trapped down if you continue. And, you know, look at what's going on. I believe it's a lot of hype. I don't believe that they've got the ability to be able, they have to have your consent. That's the point. And when it all comes down to it, even if they come and stick a chip in you, and the first thing that you say, well, can you just confirm your name? Yeah, it's Minister Emma Venn. That chip is an unquantifiable commodity in their system. It hasn't got a credit file, it hasn't got a share of the planet and its resources, so it's got no assignment of consent. Bill Gates, you've just smashed Bill Gates' hypothesis over being able to presume your DNA, because suddenly everybody's Minister Emma Venn in there. And that's the story of Odysseus, who blinded the Cyclops, disguised as a sheep. And then when the Cyclops is screaming, who did this to me? Nobody. Canonus. And that's the history that has been removed from our education, which tells you all this. Is that, and they call it mythology. It's got more sense to it than anything that I was indoctrinated with in a Western European slavery system school. So by putting yourself in that position, and actually when you put a rock in your hand, and everybody's like, no, nobody's going to take me seriously. Well, we're giving you a slave token, you want to be taken seriously. Are you seriously using that as an excuse? So you put a rock in somebody's hands and they say that I'm going to pay you with that. And then look at that, what's that? It's my share of the planet and its resources. And I'm giving it to you. I'm standing surety to you while you learn this. And that's, and because I've given my surety to these people and these people and these people and these people, go and take that rock over there to that shop and go and get your organic food with it. But while you're giving that rock over, I'm backing it with my 5 hours to stand surety to your liabilities. What are you backing it with now? It's in your hand now. Are you backing it with an indebted mindset? I can't meet you there. Are you going to take it and go and give it over there and tell that whoever it is that you're exchanging for an organic veg box, go and tell them what your 5 hours looks like, not me. I just setting you off. I just breaking the chain, and that's however far you take that. If you never put a rock in your hand, but then, you know, you're not serious about seeing the change. It's just, you know, I'd like to get out of debt and have a load more slave tokens, please, so I can buy a big fat car and put a load of fuel in it. That's not what I'm standing surety to. So, you know, people feel, oh, you're not standing surety. I've got a right to reserve my rights, like anybody has. And if somebody's going to take this, they can't corrupt this, because you need to know what it is that you are backing your rock with. What's behind your rock? What does it represent? Represents 5 hours of my priceless energy, whatever that is. Looking after people in nursing homes, growing organic food, teaching children how to forage. You know, they just let our imaginations loose and out of this slavery trap delta state system, and move into gamma frequency now, and invest our energy in creating that, or sit around and wait for bigger guys.
So, can I just ask you about the next step with the evidence of life form? So, as I've got, the notes I've got here is that I get the seal, okay, and I have the date of being born, place of being born, name of the family trust. That goes in leisure. Is that right? That goes in my ledger, I think you said.
You get a life-born record then.
How do I get that life-form record?
It comes from your trust. So if you send that information over, I can put it on a template, or Karen can, and she can send it across to you with the exemplification roll number on it in the trust ledger, this trust ledger, and then you enter it into your trust ledger that you have got an evidence of life form for your sister on this day, and enter it into your book, and then you serve that. You serve it at Rolls Building, you serve it at the nursing home, at the care home.
Sorry, what building did you say to serve it at?
Rolls.
Rolls Building. Okay, what's that?
I'm gonna leave you to find out what that is. I'm not that level. I'm not meeting you there. You should go and show some due diligence and find out what the Rolls Building is. It's also secured. We did a restoration of rights on it. There's some videos up on the Facebook group, if people bother to look, about us restoring the rights to the Rolls buildings, the Supreme Court, the Royal Courts of Justice, and it's all been done. All you guys need to do now is put this into practice. But you know,
that's what I'm asking. You know, I don't know if I'm missing something. You know, I mean, I really appreciate the time you're giving. So I'm full of gratitude for what you're doing. I don't know if I've upset you, or you know, I don't know. I don't know what the expectation is. You know, I mean, are we expected to get every word you say?
No, you're expected to show some due diligence instead of sitting there and asking. You could just open your laptop or your phone right now, or you could Google Rolls Building. What is how are you going to call how are you going to call those people that I said to call tomorrow when you see your family, if you haven't shown due diligence to find out who it is that you're going to speak to and why?
I lost you a second there.
I'm not here to create your reality for you. I'm here to guide you to the point of reference where you are being held captive. But if you haven't done these steps, I don't want to. It's not that you've pissed me off or anything. I'm stealing your experience by doing it for you. You need to actually go, right, okay. She said Rolls Building. What the bloody hell's Rolls Building? I'm going to go find out myself what the Rolls Building is, and I'm going to go and call them, and I'm going to say, if I had an evidence of life form, why would I have to send it to you? Have a look on the website, on the Facebook group, and you'll actually see my evidence of life form in there. and it's got the roles building on the bottom of it. I need you to have a full comprehension of this, Frankie, because if you haven't put these pieces together, you haven't, because you don't even know what the roles building is, love.
No, I don't.
Okay, so you haven't got a full comprehension of it, and I know when I'm teaching somebody whether they've put any of these steps into practice, because you're asking me questions that I answered not just on the Zoom with you, but also on the phone with you, and it's also written down in the documents inside the files in the Facebook group. Have you read any of those?
I've read a lot of the documents, but I haven't come across that. You know,
Evidence of life, love. Go and have a look at that, and have a look at the role that the roles building plays. Have a look at who the Treasury Solicitor has been professing to be, the Chief Attorney General.
Well, yeah, I get all this. I mean, the conversation I've had a conversation with Karen, okay, and I've checked and double checked that I've done step 1, okay. I've listened to what you said, which is don't try and do all the steps. That we can't do step 1. You've got to start, step 10 until you've done step 1, and so on. So I have been diligently.
But what you're asking, you haven't. Like, how many months have you had this? What month was it I spoke to you on the training split?
That would have been August.
August, right?
No, September.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long time, but anyway. And I have had a lot of conversations with you since about it. But what I'm saying to you is, even if I tell you, it isn't first-hand, is it? It's still third-party hearsay that I'm giving you, because you have to put these steps in yourself. I had to go. This is why I live it and breathe it, and it emanates from me, because I actually went and found out the truth for myself. I didn't ask somebody, can you just tell me, answer all of these things? And do it for me, do my due diligence for me. No, because it's not due diligence then, is it? So what the point of these webinars is...
I agree with you. I want that. I want to do my due diligence.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Go look, you find out what the roles building is then, and don't get upset for me to say that.
No, I'm not upset.
I'm trying to help you.
I'm trying to
help you put these pieces together in your head in a map of, like Bob did. Bob took what I'd said, it came on 3 or 4 calls, loads and loads and loads and loads of notes. And he went off and did all of these steps. He came back to me and he was just like, wow, I cannot believe what it is that you've done. And then he said, I hope you don't mind, but I've taken it and I've created a roadmap so that it makes sense for me to be able to explain it to others. And if you aren't going to put the steps in to make sense for it with you, then you're never going to be able to teach somebody else. You're just going to send them over to me to do it, because you haven't got it in you haven't got that program in your mind operating. It's still a government. Lisa told me to do that, so I did it. That's what I'm trying.
I'm with you 100%. That's what I want. That's why I'm here on the call.
That's it. So there's a little bit of homework. This is about ministering your mind. There's a little bit of homework. It's not about copy and pasting out of my ebook. It's about actually going and doing it and living it and saying, right, next person that I speak to, I'm not saying, oh, she said, he said, they said that. I'm saying, I did this, and if you go there and you ask these questions, see what the answers are from the horse's mouth yourself, and you'll be astonished when you get told that there is another method of getting a passport and it's an evidence of life form, or that if you have an evidence of life form and you serve it, it annuls immediately the presumption that that living, breathing being was dead lost at sea. So they can't launder the account anymore. But the part that the roles building plays in there is for you to define. You might turn around and say, "Oh, I don't even believe that they've got any authority." After what I've researched about them, and I don't need an evidence of life form. I just need to go and do restoration of rights of the creditors, because what is actually happening is we're at the level of restoration of rights of the creditors, but people are coming in at this level and still wanting to do you know, send 3-letter notices and all that kind of stuff. And we're not at that level.
I mean, for me, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. I mean, I followed your advice to take each step at a time. I've signed my consent. I spent a lot of time with Karen, making sure I've done the steps, then making sure that we're getting people in again on the advice of the community. Now I've done step 1. I'm inviting other people to do step 1.
Listen, you've done amazing stuff. I mean,
what I'm explaining is it's just the immediate. The reason why I'm trying to. It might seem like I'm, trying to jump ahead now is because just the immediacy of the situation with
and
my
that if I know you've said that if I'm pissed off with you at anything, I'm pissed off with you at that, because you've left it so long and then come to me in the final hour and said, right, we need to do these things now, when you've had all this time. So that says something to me that about you. And you know, I now you want me to explain what the roles building is, because you haven't. This is due diligence. If you were showing due diligence, you would have got off the boat, off the plane, or off the train, whatever it was, when you got back into Swansea, and you would have been on the phone to me then, and we would have been doing this, and we would have had it all in place, and we wouldn't be, you know, oh God, I'm right at the last minute now. That has to stop it, because this is.
I have phoned you. You know what I mean? I have phoned you. So that's not true what you're saying. I have.
Hang on, you have phoned me, and I have said all of this to you, but you never wrote it down.
You haven't.
I have. I tell you what, I have said this to you. I know that your sister was ill, and I've actually contacted somebody about looking after her. And we did a little flurry a few weeks ago about, I put a post together for you, if you remember, if you looked, for Minister Event, for a specific carer, a personal private carer for your sister. So I don't know what it is that you're doing over there, but I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't already told me this story. And that job application, you had 2 job people who applied for it, and I put one of the women in contact with you, I think she was called Fiona, off the top of my head.
Yeah, and
don't you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it. And the last time we spoke about it, and you said, "Yeah, let's talk about it on the phone." So I phoned you, and we didn't get onto we didn't get it. I phoned you again, and you know, I'm not blaming you for that. You're very, very busy. That's not your fault. I'm just saying.
Why didn't you contact that girl, and say the same thing to me, to her, what you said to me? She'd applied for the job. I'd spoken to her. Really amazing woman, and absolutely up for it, and I sent you her details over, and now here we are. You coming to me and saying we're at the last step. People, you contacted me about, we had a conversation not about any of this, but about a little trinket for somebody. Do you remember? It's about prioritizing your energy, and also, you know, it's self-determination. So you're going to serve that document. You send the information over to me at the end of the call. I'll send you over a live born record. You're going to need somebody to stamp that for you. I can't do that because I'll have to scan it and it won't be an original. So, you know, this is a conversation that needed to be redone earlier, really, that's all.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I have phoned you and told you I was ill when I was in Split. I told you that. I told you the reason why I didn't take the steps when I was over there. I was ill. I know.
You haven't even printed your coronavirus immunity record off, I remember.
I have printed it off. I have printed it now. So,
listen, the first step, before step 1, is take responsibility. This is my shit. I didn't apply myself. I didn't ask the questions. I didn't get the answers. And I stopped asking, whatever it was. We couldn't get it through. You could use Facebook, whatever. Take responsibility of it is what I'm saying. Otherwise, it's always going to be somebody else's fault. And if it's somebody else...
I'm not blaming anyone. I'm here now trying to address this, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. Let's do it.
So the problem that we've got is we need an original stamp on there, or I can send you one and put a certified copy of a true original and do it at my end here. I can do that to get it in your hands for tomorrow. You know, it's such an important thing for kids, you know, it really is. So then obviously approach family about it, and I would say it's already been done. I'd just say, look, I didn't want to bother you about it, so I took the jurisdiction to stand surety to my sister, and anything that comes from that, I'm standing surety to that. It's my problem.
Okay.
That's what I'd do.
Okay.
And then I'd go there like I did with my own dad and put him in a wheelchair and I'd take him home. And my dad was sitting in a wheelchair and he thought, we're going to get arrested. They'd absolutely smashed him with chemical kosh and feeding him crap. And he's sitting in the car absolutely blurry-eyed and was like, we're going to get arrested. I said, what, we're going to get arrested for taking you home. Do you want to die in here or do you want to die at home if you think you're going to die? Oh, okay, I'll die at home then. Okay, there you go. And done all the house out down for him. I knocked the whole wall through, built him an ensuite toilet and got him a carer in the house. And that's what needs to be done. And, you know, and I did make the steps in to do that for you so that we could do this for your family. Because it is, you know, it's very important to me that we've got the ability to look after one another. And we have to start off as we're mean to go on, you know, I do these Zoom rooms 3 times a week. This will be the 5th one this week. I was doing them every night, but in the end, everybody was just coming on and was fun listening to me rambling on and not even making any notes. They're wasting my time because then that's why nobody, you know, the first lockdown being lifted.
I have made notes to the best of my ability, just for you to know. You know,
you have this time. I mean, you've been really great by organising all those people and talking about it, and you've got some really quality people as well. But at the same time, we have to, you know, accept. I could have done this a little bit different. That's all.
Yeah, you know, I mean.
It's Nick here again. Could I ask? You know this? You've recorded this this session. Will that be able? Will we all be able to access this for reference? Or
yeah, I'll put it on YouTube and
right.
And everybody can listen. Everybody can listen to me telling Frankie off. Sorry.
Yes, giving Frankie a row. Yeah, that's why I wanted to replay it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's get on to that. Frankie, just send me those things over now, and I can simply just fill one of these out and send it back to you.
Right. So so just so I'm clear now, I'm sending you my assignment of consent. Is that right?
I'm doing the live born record, aren't I?
Live born record. So is this for my sister or for me? Or both?
For your sister.
So you need my sister's date of birth, place of birth, and then the name of the family trust.
Yeah, and you're acting in the role of Minister and Maven yourself as the trustee of the family trust.
So in terms of what I need to send, it's a photograph of my ledger book. Is that right?
Okay. No. It's just the okay. Just put a line on your page and write live born record, date of being born, place of being born, and the family name of your family trust.
Date of being born, place of being born. Name of family trust. Okay, and
then draw another line underneath it. Now, for however many other live born records you want, That's the information that we need for life-born record. It's really simple. If you want to do a V5 assignment for your car, should we do that as well?
I don't have a car at the moment. I got rid of it, but
For the
yeah.
people that have got a car, you write the VIN number, the make and model, and you send that across here to the kindnesscredits@protonmail.com. You then get back an exemplification certificate, which replaces the V5. You fill out the V5 and you send the car for export. To ELLAS, ELLAS, brackets, Greece.
Why do you use that name, sir?
Because it's Rock of Light. It was what the planet was called before the Romans gave us the definition of planet, or even before it was Gaia or Gi or Gaia. It's Hellas, and we are all Hellenis, which is of the people. We are the people of the light, children of the light, of the Rock of Light. Where is the Rock of Light? Somewhere in Simbam, in the universe. It keeps you offshore, out of Admiralty jurisdiction, commercial systems, and under universal law, or in universal law.
So the ledger book, I bought the ledger book. It's all just like, you know, columns. So I don't need a proper ledger book like that. I just need just an A4.
Yeah,
blank.
just need, or, you know, in your columns, write the date, the deed. What deed was it that I'm recording? Because that's what the rolls building records, is the birth certificates and the ledger rolls, the rolls building.
Okay. So I can do it in there, but
But you know, don't let that stop you having a dig around about what it is and where it comes from, what it originates.
Definitely.
What else? Then you'll get back your exemplification. You'll be issued your trust exemplification roll as a number plate and an indemnity cover note. So as long as it's not being able to be proved that you're in commerce, you're insured. And there's on YouTube, you'll see there's a little conversation with the Lancashire Police just recently. They're like, well, it's not registered anywhere. Not registered anywhere with you, but I'm looking in the rolls here and I can tell you exactly who that is. We've got another point of reference. That's the whole process. Or another point of definition and reference.
So we're talking about cars now. Is that, so everything we've covered is, for my sister, is that we've covered that now, yeah? Is that what you're saying? So
You've drawn a line under that, haven't we?
the steps that we said are evidence of life form, trustee of her share, become the trustee of her share of the family trust. So that I do that by just registering the family trust. Is that what you're saying?
No, you've asked me that twice now. You don't register the family trust anywhere. You are whatever you say you are. If you go there and you say, I'm the trustee of the family trust.
Yeah.
That's who you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you go there and you say, hello, I'm the Vatican debt slave. I'm here to plead with you for privileges instead of my rights. Then that's who you are. You are acting in the role of minister and event.
Yeah. I comprehend that now, and I see it, and that's what my family are trying to do, isn't it? They want to stay within the debt slave system and beg for some privileges. Okay.
And so now we've got onto the cars, and so then you've got the right of use back. The same thing applies with your company, or your send the company's registration number or the tax reference number, and the same thing applies. You get a new exemplification roll number for that entry into our ledger book, and then you put it in your ledger book. And you've got a trust within a trust then. And then all of those ledger books all together is a trust within a trust within a trust. So you have completed their, you've mirrored their system of a triad of trust. Your mind, your body, and your soul are back in your own hands. So you do the same with your house. Do a TR1 document of the land registry, if it's got a mortgage on it, and you're assigning that into your family trust, and then you send the longitude and latitude to the email address, and then you get a quiet title and a debt equity swap acceptance notice that says that we've accepted whatever it was, the value that you put on your property, the right of use of that, or the mortgage. We've got another document called an offer of settlement for them to give you a full and final settlement when they put it in writing for the very last time of the fraud that they're trying to commit against claiming against you for something that you already created, which is the funds and the credit that you created when you actually wrote the promissory note and securitized your own signature that created the credit. And we say thank you very much for the evidence that you've provided to us. We have accepted this in a debt equity swap. We would like to know, HSBC or Barclays Bank or wherever you are, whether you would like us to deduct it from your kindness credit account, a credit to your kindness credit account, to eradicate 250 grand's worth of your debt, or would you like us to apply it to HM governments at the 10 quadrillion? We've actually done this. I mean, they're absolutely speechless. We ring them up and you say, I'm Minister on Van, I'm here to make an offer of settlement. Well, your name's not on the account. No, it's not, but you have received an assignment of consent on the 26th of February this year or whatever it is. And I'm the only party with the authority to act in this matter. And I'm calling you to offer you a settlement. So if you're refusing to correspond or communicate with me, then you're refusing to accept my offer of settlement, which zeroes the account anyway. So maybe you should speak to your manager and see whether you want to speak to me. Have you got that assignment of consent that I know that you signed for? Because we sent it recorded delivery. Oh, okay, come back 5 minutes later. Yes. Yes, well, you wanted to offer a settlement? These are the key words. Yeah, well, I do. I'm here to make an offer of settlement. I've got 2 accounts here, one in the company name that you represent and one in the HM government. And I've got this amount that we've accepted, the right of use. So the right of use has been assigned to the trust. We've given it a value of that. And now we're using that to discharge 250 grand. And I want to know which account would you like me to apply it to?
Can I jump in here, please?
Of course.
It's another question, sorry. So for somebody who wanted to purchase a house, a property, what would be the procedure for those? Or another example, transferring the house from parents to the children.
Okay, so let's start with one.
2 different things really, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's start with the transferring of the right of use. Normally, obviously, there's inheritance tax to pay on conveyance.
Yeah, there's no mortgage or...
Yeah, but there's the inheritance tax.
Yeah.
So what you do before you die is you discharge the debt on the property completely, which is, okay, it might not have a mortgage on it, but it's going to create a debt to your family by them inheriting it. And that's the sins of the father passed down to the children. So you're passing the debt down for the right of use. So remember, the right of use of the thing has a legal value, not the thing itself. It's not the title deed or even the house. It's the fact that you need the right of use of the house that has the value. So your family have got a right to inherit the right of use. Do they want the title? Maybe later on down the line, somebody might want to buy the title and they don't understand right of use and title. So you assign the TR1 document into your family trust, and the children inherit the right of use from the family trust. So they've got the right of use for perpetuity issued to them, And as far as land registry goes, nothing happened when they exercised their right of use. Gone are the days that people think that they need a title in order to exercise their right of use. It's the title that causes the liabilities. So you give the title to the trust, the family trust. That's recorded then inside land registry, and the children get the right of use. They can sell, rent, or will that right of use. Or if somebody comes along 10 years later and says, right, I want to buy your house, to your daughter or whoever, and your daughter says, right, well, you can buy the right of use off me and it's tax-free, and the house is liability-free, it's got no gas, water, electricity, council tax charges on it because it's in a private trust. Or your legal fiction, if you still want to use your legal fiction, can buy the title deed from the trust's legal fiction.
Right, right. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
What if there's still a mortgage on the house?
If there's a mortgage on the house, the right of use. So the mortgage is, we make an offer of settlement, like I just explained before. So there's somebody who's got, let's say they've got a house and it's got a mortgage on it of 150,000, doesn't matter what. And they say to the trust, right, I'm going to peacefully surrender the collateral of my right of use of this property to discharge 150,000 off HM government's debt. And so we say, thank you very much. We'll give you a receipt for that. So your trust actually gives you a receipt to say that there's been a debt equity swap. You used your house as collateral, your right of use of the house as collateral, to kindly discharge 150 grand off either the mortgage broker's account debt or HM government. Either way, you're back in the role of secured party creditor.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. They get a receipt.
Right.
A bill of exchange.
And with that, Lisa, what about someone who doesn't have a house, doesn't have a mortgage, doesn't have a council house? Would they do a restoration of rights?
Yes, all council property was already paid for a long time ago out of people's tax and treasury accounts, and they then realised that they could do an administrative laundry service by creating these housing associations, which actually then it's leasor. They're charging the housing association to charge you for the right of use of your right of shelter. So all of the council tax council properties, all of those housing association properties, they've all been created from the birth certificate files of the people living in that particular constituency. So when you pay 1,800, let's say, in council tax, that they get 180,000 per person out of their trust. And that's how they've been able to create these corporations. And so the council was again registered and licensed by HM government, which was secured party 2. We've revoked their license, and the asset that they were claiming was theirs has been exchanged as a debt equity swap. So there's a restoration of rights. The party, possession's 9/10 of the law, and the party who's in the possession of the property has got the right to remain there. Anybody who hasn't got a shelter, then obviously those are the people that we want to restore the rights to first.
What's the difference between that and squatting?
Pardon?
I'm just wondering if there's a difference between what you're describing there and what they call squatting.
Well, if you're squatting, it's because you haven't got a right to be there, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's that you do. It's adverse possession, AP1. You would normally fill out an AP1 if you have been squatting on a property for a certain period of time, but it's not adverse possession because they've been in adverse possession of our property. We've been under Roman occupation for the last 2,000 years, and now what you're doing is you're evicting them from occupying your mind.
Okay, which obviously squatting doesn't do, so that's the difference.
No. You're restoring the rights of the creditors. So you're the descendants of the people's accounts who were laundered to create all of those social housing and buildings. It's virtual reality. If you have a look at 2800 Gateway Drive, a document that's in the Facebook group, that was a legal entity that was trading on one of my accounts. There was 77,000 when I looked before I secured it. And it's an office. It starts off as, this is an office. 2800 Gateway Drive is a legal entity identification of an office. This office rents itself out to another office. That office rents itself out to another office. And suddenly got a tower block of offices. Then it moves on to 2801 Gateway Drive, another tower block, and then it's a street with houses, and it's got a green, and it's got a health centre and a hospital, and it's got an army base and a casino in the end, and it's a great big city. And it goes on and on and on for pages, and right at the bottom it says 2800 Gateway Drive is a legal entity identification of Key West Holdings, an investment company that I used to actually advise where to invest there, make their investments. And so I contacted them, and I can send you the document actually that I sent them, and the one that we sent to Visa. And they ceased trading, and we couldn't get into the LEI identifier anymore. They blocked us, blocked my IP address. But that's virtual reality. And what is actually going on is they have to launder the money that you're paying in. They have to launder the energy. So the more it's energy that is backing your slave token, it's your energy converted into slavery. And that's what it looks like. It creates these cities and towns that looks like that because there's the laundry service that actually all of this is going on in the background, hiding the amount of money that you've been paying in, because that's why it's 10 to the power of 10, so that they can show 0 at the front of the trust account, because they create the liability and then they create the debt to cover the liability. So it's 0. Nothing happened here because it's legal fiction. It's actually virtual real estate, and it creates Delaware companies, and that actually then was brought into fruition by these corporations. We're compounding it into reality. And I know it sounds completely out there, but when you actually get in there and you have a look at the security inside the Edgar filing systems, and you put in somebody's birth certificate or national insurance account number, and 70-odd thousand companies trading on that particular individual. And until you realise that a number can't choose, which is what happens to me, a number can't choose. How can a number choose? I put my own number in and bang, there you go. So, you know, it does matter what's being projected, and it does matter what we invest in. It does matter what we accept as legal tender, as method of exchange. And anybody who says it doesn't, you know, doesn't fully understand that they're creating the matter. Like you said in that book, it's unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent. You know that there's something. When you're unconsciously competent, you don't know there's something that you could be competent of. When you're consciously competent, you know that there's something that you want to do but can't. When you're consciously competent, you're doing it with all of your concentration, and then you become unconsciously competent, like driving the car. And that's what these steps are supposed to take you through. But you do, you know, have to apply these in practice. There's no point in having all this information and still going, oh, okay, and just use slave tokens, because I can't be bothered. People have actually said that to me after spending hours and hours with them. I can't be bothered to have a conversation with somebody at point of sale and do that. Well, do you know what? I can't be bothered with you.
I appreciate you saying that. That's not me, though. I
No,
mean,
it's not, darling. It's not you. It's not you. Because you use a rock all the time. Don't you? Hey? Have you given anyone a rock?
say it again.
Have you given anybody a rock yet?
No.
Yeah. Oh my God. Somebody's just... Yorgos. Hang on a second. Sorry. It's okay. I'm being experimented on, I think, or goes. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot to learn. We're talking about universal law.
To jump off here.
Are you there?
I'm here, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It is universal law, which is why there's so much to it. There's a book called Pactum Singularis Decalium.
Would you spell that?
I'll put it in the chat box for you. Some other words as well. We've got plenipotentiary minister. Have a look at that. Excuse me. What was the other one? Pactum Singularis Decalium. This is actually, that's done as a PDF in the Facebook group as well. Have a look at.
Section then, yeah.
Pardon me, sorry.
So they're in the file section in Facebook.
Yeah. Not plenipotentiary minister. Have a look at plenipotentiary minister. It means that you're an ambassador of your own state, and that's what you are. You're an ambassador of your own state of being, and you have got the right to apply for diplomat's passport. You're exempt through the COVID travel. If you look at who's exempt from when they were doing when the borders were open, if you looked the exemption of the coronavirus and all the testing and things that they were doing and wearing a mask, Minister Plenipotentiary was one of them, diplomat. You know, to start to give yourself some different definitions. Even these definitions, they're their definitions. So you would say, the closest thing that you've got to define me as is Minister Plenipotentiary, but I'm more than that.
Okay. Well, with regards to due diligence on the alternative to a passport, where can I do due diligence on that?
If you start at the beginning, what would you do if you were going to apply for passport? So you'd contact the passport agency, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And you say to them, look, is there anything other than a birth certificate that I can use to get my passing through the port papers?
Right, okay.
And
get a passport with Minister Maven on it? No,
please don't. Anybody don't ever put Minister Maven in as let's have a think about this. I looked at this because the police here were saying, look, if you go and get an Hellenic Republic ID card with Minister Maven on it, then we'll call you Minister Maven. And until then, we're going to use the bank card and call you that instead. And I said, well, you know, you just undermined everything that you considered valid. So I went to the refugee, you know, when these refugee lawyers in Samos, and I just said, I'm going to call myself stateless. And then she's looking at me, she's like, you're definitely from England. And I said, I'm definitely not from England. England isn't it? I'm from the UK. I said, I'm definitely not from the UK. The UK is a non-geographical state. It doesn't exist. So she's gone out and got these other lawyers to come in. Come and listen to this woman. And so I've got about 5 of them in there, and she said, she said, what do you want? And I said, well, look, you know, I've severed the contracts with Crown Corporation. I don't want anything to do with them. She's like, well, why did you do that? And I said, because I don't want a contract with the biggest terrorists on the planet. And so she said, well, what you can do, I said, walk me through it. If I come here and I say that I'm a refugee, I've just got off a boat, what is the process? So she said, first we would ask you, what country is it that you claim that you're from? There's a clue, right? And then we would ask you, what country is it that you can prove that you're from? And she showed me the document that they actually fill out for you to start the asylum. And so I said, what if I told you that I was from the universe? And so they're laughing now. They're like, well, if that's what you claimed it was, that you were from. I said, what difference does it make? So she said, well, if you failed at the second level, we'd send you back to whatever country it was that you'd said that you were from. So I said, okay, so if I said I was from the universe and I failed, would you send me back into the universe? Where in the universe would you send me to? Laughing now at this point. And she said, look, we can do this. We can put what your name is, whatever you claim it to be. That's it. So get rid of your papers. Go and give those birth certificates back, and go and I'm stateless. Where are you from? The universe. Send me back there. Completely dissolves everything, because you are not making a claim anymore to anything that they've got the definition of.
There was something that you mentioned, I think it was on the very first call I was on, that you handed over a document that wasn't a passport, and you mentioned something about the Queen and how it's precedent that she sets by whatever she does, you were just following in the same slipstream or something like that. Is that?
It's the evidence of life form, and that I told you about at the beginning, and I put it to the test, and I flew from Ikaria to Athens, Athens to Brussels, and Brussels to Manchester. Go to Manchester Airport, and this big woman standing there, and she's like, where's your passport? I said, well, I've got this. Well, you can't come through with this. You need a passport, and it's not valid. So I said, well, I'm sure the Queen of England's going to love to find out that you believe that evidence of life forms are invalid, and that she signs invalid documents, because this is the one that, so I've got a copy of the one that the Queen signed for Anthony Santiago Martin when they laundered the gold through the Philippines from the Greeks. I said, and if it's decided that that's invalid, then the Queen's going to have to give all the gold back. I won't want to be responsible for that, would you? So I'd go and take these documents to those people up there who are looking and ask them. So she did. And you could see from her coming back down that, you know, she'd completely lost all of her authority. And she was like, well, we're going to let you through just this once, but you should. Normally you should have a passport. I said, there's nothing normal about being a Vatican debt slave, but have a lovely day. And that was it.
That seems to be what they say every time they have to sort of cave in, for want of a better word. They say, we're just going to try to maintain some semblance of authority, I guess.
It's a presumption. And I do not share that. I just don't credit the belief that you've got rattling around in your indoctrinated head. Is, you know, really what you're saying, but in a nice way. With kindness credit. I mean, it does get easier the more you practice it. And I mean, I was standing there and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? Do you know what I mean? I did have a passport at that point as well. It hadn't expired at that point when I used that evidence of life form. And I just thought, why am I going to such, you know, why am I putting myself in these positions to be completely inconvenienced? And I really needed to get to England as well, was regarding the theft of a property that was my dad's. But I still, I will not commit fraud upon my soul. And I actually did this in June. The police had tried to take my fingerprints off me because they didn't know I was here. And just as the minister, I'd been in the bank trying to sort somebody's accounts out. And the bank manager had seen the guy, the creditor, videoing him. So they called the police. And the police came and they were like, where's your ID? There it is. We don't accept that. We don't recognise that. Okay, well, that's my ID. Do whatever you have to do. So I had to find out who I am. So they come with us to the police. They got all the chief of police in there and everything. Okay, I'll give you 5 hours and work it out. It usually takes them about 5 hours in each new area that we go to. But the information's filtered down from there, fortunately, which is why we ended up with that pantomime on the mountain last night. Because they know there's just don't bloody get involved, because the amount we'll lose our jobs. They lost their jobs in Samos. Police retired, resigned from their work because they could see that they were working for a corrupt system and there was no hiding from it, and that's what we exposed. And so it was worth every minute.
To those individual police officers, that's why they made that decision, or did they work it out in other ways?
Pardon?
when you say that the policemen and women, whoever they were, left, was that after speaking to you individually, or did they go away and work it out themselves?
No, one of them came and put his hand through the bars because I'd stamped a document to appear in the court as Minister MFN, and they'd failed to provide that. And so I was in the cell. They didn't know what to do with me for 10 days. This is another story. And when they executed the 5.5 years, they actually broke their own kakadikia because I'd got an injunction against them in the Supreme Court. So they broke their own Supreme Court's ruling and constitutional law, and the whole thing fell down because of it. And I said to this really nice guy who I knew from being around with the shops and stuff, and he loved what we were doing, and he says, you know, it's great what you're doing, giving cannabis oil to people who've got cancer. And it's wrong that it's illegal. And I said, you know, it's not illegal. The Prime Minister came out and said in June of the year before that it was legal. You just can't determine what's legal and what's not when you want to hammer somebody for lifting everybody out of debt. That's really why I'm here. I said, go and in that file somewhere on the day that I made the claim against the priest, I used the driving license with all my rights reserved, and I knew that they were going to try and join these two things together. They'd not been able to do anything for nearly 2 years until I did this. And I wanted to prove that I could be the two things at the same time. So here I am using the driving license with all my rights reserved, and they couldn't believe it, that I've actually come and given this driving license, but it didn't look like me on there at all. And they're looking and they're like, and they're offended. I said, you've got a problem with it? And they're like, no, we've just never seen one like this before. And he's like, can you drive a wagon? I said, of course I can. And I said, I can drive a tank as well. I said, I might even be able to fly a plane for you know. But I'm using that to make this claim with all my rights reserved with a release of commercial instrument document from my trust. So and I knew it was a setup. So the other policeman came in and he's like, right, okay, we've got this summons for you now. If you're using that name, we're going to summons you because it matches this other claim. So I said, okay, I can receive. If you read the document that I've given you, it says that it's only for this one-off instantaneous use for laying the claim that I can use that driving license for. But I can accept on behalf of the trust, Minister MFN, to appear at the court. Are you okay with that? Yes, stamped it. So then when they tried to execute it to say that I hadn't gone to the court, and it's all been on video and all the police had been down there because they were all involved in it as well, I called them as witnesses. And so they knew that I'd been to the court, so they knew that the judges were lying, and they knew that the actual sentence that was passed was false. So no one of them wanted to execute it or be involved in it. And you could see, and this particular police officer, he was trying to keep out of the way, and he just said, look, go in that file. There has to be a document there that says that I was summoned as Minister MFN, because I remember it was you that I said, I remember. Went in the office, they shut the door, and I could hear him shouting "Malakas" when they found it, which means like king wankers, because it was stamped with Minister MFN. And then I heard the chief of police say, make a new one, Fiacno Nuria, and they tore it up. And then this policeman, I could hear him shouting and going mad in there, and he just came out and put his hand to the gate through the bars, and he just got all of my hands, and he went, I said, I'm truly, truly sorry. I said, I've quit. I said, no, please don't quit. I said, I've quit. I said, because this job doesn't define the man that I am anymore. And I'm like, no, we need people like you. Don't leave. And that was it. And they actually had a farewell party for him while I was there. Chief of police got sacked, 2 of them. 2 of the police officers got sacked. And a woman PC, she left. The customs, they got sacked. And the judge got sacked, and the case got dismissed. So all charges discharged. Now, I'm the walking proof that this works, because I should be doing 5.5 years. If it didn't, that's where I'd be. And while I was in there, I got 27 women out, and we did a hunger strike because not one of those poor women in there had been given their rights. So I went in and gave it to them, and the next day it was shut down for expecting a riot. And so I said, why have you not told these women that the law changed on the 1st of July and that all their sentences were halved for non-criminal acts? So that was it, really. They had to get 2 lawyers in to come, and they had a big presentation about the new legislation that had been brought in. And it's all because of the red paper. It's called the red paper here. And all it ever was is that we know your game and we're not playing it. That's it.
If somebody's working in retail, and we know somebody working in the police force in the UK,
yeah.
how would it be possible for them to join this community?
They'd be People's Protection Patrol. People who are doing the job for the right reasons, by all means, give them a People's Protection Patrol t-shirt and let's stand surety to them. These poor men and women don't even realise that they're actually paying themselves to go to work. Everybody is. So when you go and get a contract, you use a legal fiction. They create another account then between the company that's employed you and your national insurance. HMRC are rubbing their hands together, obviously, because they're getting the big funds by acting as the administrators of your trust. So let's say...
For retail, is it? Is that the same for working in a shop, for example?
Yeah, everything. Doesn't matter what. If you've used a national insurance account, you've laundered yourself. You're actually paying yourself to go to work, and you're getting 1% of the total amount that they're taking.
Right.
So how do they take actions to rectify that? Can they still be employed by that employer?
So, I mean, when you're talking about big retailers and things like that, look at the shares. We're not allowing our shares to be. That's why the system's collapsed, because they haven't got any shares to trade on. That's why they've had to create coronavirus. So we pulled our shares out and said, we're not investing our shares. You can't use the right of our petrol to create petrochemicals with. So you can't make plastic. We've taken our shares back from the aluminium quarries, mines here. You can't use that. And you can't use it. You can't spray it in the sky. The restoration of rights to the creditors. So as far as the retailers go, what we would be looking at is re-educating the people and just open up a retailer or a kind of credit exchange place, which is providing natural remedies and instead of pharmaceuticals, hemp, polymers, everything that you can make out of plastic, you can make out of hemp. We've got people who grow hemp in various places down in Devon. And what we're doing now is looking at investors who want to create a hemp extraction equipment so that we can turn, I mean, the irony is that your money was created from hemp before it went plastic.
So you're not really going to be proactive if you're employed if you're an employee by the police force, for example.
Yeah, I mean, of course you are. You're gonna right. I'm a policewoman, and I've come here because I want to uphold the law and I want to uphold the rights and protect the rights of my community. I come and I put a magic uniform on, and I find out that I'm working for a private corporation, and my job is to persecute the people for profit. I'm given a target every month that I have to hit for however many arrests it is that I make in order for me to keep my job. So it's in my best interest, because I've got to pay my debts to pay my mortgage, council tax, same as everybody else. We're all equally Vatican debt slaves, no matter what uniform we wear or not. So we come along and we say to those people, look, we love you doing your job. You're the right being for the job. And that's why you're so disillusioned and disheartened. So give us 5 hours a week instead, and we'll discharge all of your liabilities. Set that woman free. And you've allowed them to have a platform, or created a platform for them to allow themselves to be what they came to be, instead of fit this mold, which is some mindless, no, I can't think for myself. you know, the fact that they say they're not legally trained. What the hell are you doing, forcing legal code on people and then stepping back and saying, I'm not legally trained? How dare you put a uniform on? So you don't know what the law is.
So the police. So what? In effect, would they have to leave the police force as it is? And is that what we're saying, or?
No, we create our own. It's called the People's Protection Patrol.
They create your own, but you wouldn't be working for the government force, then, so to speak, or?
You'd be working for the people under warrant of universal law.
Right.
We've got people.
Right, okay, thank you.
Who's whispering in the background?
It's me, Mandy.
So what have you got a question, darling?
So Mandy's daughter, Mandy's shy. Her daughter works for the police force in the UK.
Right.
So that's I was directing the question from her.
Yeah, and she's just about to, you know, take a mortgage on and everything. So just wanted to know where we would stand on that side.
Yeah, again, we just discharge the mortgage and we say, look, you know, you've done the police force for all the right, lovely reasons, and they particularly pick the really lovely people who, you know, want to uphold the law, and then they condition them into,
yeah,
they're trapped in there, and they're like, oh, have I really got to do this for a job?
She hates her job anyway. She hates it. So.
Oh, little love. How long's she been doing it?
Gosh, 4 years now. She's a PCSO. She is. So.
Well, then, you know, let's give her, and you know, the idea of having to stick at that. We've gone and got myself a mortgage, a noose around my neck, and I've got to carry on doing that. And I'm looking for my pension. I mean, this is what we had them laughing down here at the police station in Levadia. In the end, and they've gone to grab me to take my fingerprints, and I just shouted, by the power vested in me by universal law, I shall not commit fraud upon my soul, and threw one massive policeman on my left arm at the wall, and the other one hit the door, little guy, and they just looked at me, I looked at them, and I was like, where did all that energy come from? And I went down to do it again, and they were like, no. The chief policeman running in, and he shouted, stop, stop. And we know who you are, Maria, he suddenly called me. So I said, oh, I've been Maria today. And the little guy came in afterwards when they had found out who I was, or what was the best of their belief. And they know that I go and I help people and that I'm here to get rid of the Roman occupation. And he came in and he just went, Mrs. Minister, I'm really sorry. And I said, it's all right, you're just doing your job. I'm just here doing my job. I'm trying to help these people against the banks and stuff, and I'll help you too. And he's like, he's doing this bowing. I mean, they've kissed my hand in the court. The administrators, you walk in there, you've got your robes on, and they kiss your hand. Because they're used to that. Mr. Watson. I'm like, no, please don't. You know, it's mad. So yeah, we would just say to her, look, do 5 hours instead. Here's your, if you point her in the direction of my local Bobby, let's put it in the chat box. My local Bobby was set up by 2 ex-police guys, and they've got their own private protection patrol. It's just the same. G4S, private protection patrol. So we need your own. And all of those resources that the police have got. There's police stations that we've got restoration of rights going on at the moment with, and all the collateral. And because they're licensed by the Metropolitan Police, which is licensed by HM government, it's all secured.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any more questions?
I think that's it for now. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Okay, have you sent me them things over?
No.
All right.
As
As soon as you do, I'll do it for you, okay? But don't, it's 12 o'clock at my end now.
Okay, do you want me to do it? Does it need to be done tonight or tomorrow morning?
As soon as possible, really, so you've got it. And what time's your appointment with your family?
10 o'clock UK time tomorrow.
Okay, we've got time. We'll send it in the morning and I can do it before then.
Okay. And so does it need to be written in red pen or any pen or?
It's not going to be written at all, is it? You're going to just send me it over, the information for the lifelong record, and let's do that step by one.
Okay.
And it's going to be printed up for your end.
Via Proton, and I need to get onto the stamp company.
Yeah, but I'll send you a certified copy of a true original, and I'll stamp it here at this end.
Get onto the stamp company and send you those 3 bits of information. And
then all we need when you do your assignment is, what is your 5 hours? What is it that you're giving in exchange? And we just network you all together, and that's it. You can start to create your own economy, your own community, and your own surety amongst yourselves. You know, they're not able to pick us off one by one anymore because they don't know who you are.
Yeah, and that's what we want in Swansea. I'm sure in everywhere is we want that People's Protection Patrol to be, you know, the as we grow in number, we want to be able to say, right, who wants to keep their businesses open? Let's go and support them. Make sure they stay open.
Yeah.
Speak for them against whatever presumed authorities come to approach them, and move from one to the other.
That's it. It's the insurance. You're creating surety. That's where the word insurance comes from. Standing surety to one another.
Right. So with regards to, I did speak to Karen, and she said she could help anyone who was on this call, you know, get all their paperwork done. So in terms of Nick, have you got your number, your account number?
Nick has, yeah.
Nick has. Great. So Mandy, are you going to do one?
Well, yeah, I gotta try and win Andrew over now, haven't I? So I'm gonna try and.
That's I know we're getting on now, but I'm just wondering, you know, I'm sure Lisa would have some guidance on that.
You just need to create a Proton email address. Each account is issued with a Proton email address. That's it. That's all you need to do. And then we can work through these. Right, I want to start with something small and easy, council tax. Gas, water, and start with those.
It's trying to convince my other half it is, because he's not up on anything, you know. He's one of the sheeple.
Is his name on the council tax?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I was going to try and do is, I've said I've come up to see Nick and Alice working tonight. So I'm going to tell a little white lie, Frank, and say that you were up here. And
recording. Wait. Let me turn it off. Hang on a minute. Stop recording.